And I would imagine that most people that are the Democrats in the red states lean to the center. Also,
lean to the center? A Democrat leans, we call that person left.
So when I had spoken to her years ago, that was my understanding of her. And also, that's, again, we did not receive any criticism of this. This is the first criticism that I've even heard of this.
Not relevant.
Well, I think it's important because I do think that it was...
I'm sorry you feel this way, but this is just completely
you don't need to apologize to me. I'm just...
I mean, it's just...
Oh, we got the unproductive, yes!
Completely unproductive.
I feel like you're becoming quite defensive and evasive right now.
No,
I feel...
Oh, true.
Because I feel like I'm dealing with the white nationalists, because this is all...
What? And the second time? Remember earlier, she was like, this always comes from the right. It's because he's bald, by the way. 100% the white nationalist card has come out. Oh, boy.
Quite defensive and evasive right now.
No, it's frustrating because I feel like I'm dealing with the white nationalists, because this is all I do all day is go back and forth with the white nationalists.
Hutch is bald by choice, but it's not because of that.
It is the same ridiculous argument where it's like, oh,
you think the questions that I asked you amount to like being questioned by a white nationalist?
I will tell you, they are the exact. Why don't you listen? They are the exact same words you're using, the exact same method of saying, right? When we write about Tucker Carlson, and I've gone back and forth with Tucker Carlson's team on this exact issue, right? We'll say, well, we characterize you as XYZ, far right. Right? Far right is actually even more common than the right with white nationalists. And every time I write about a right-wing influencer and we say, well, we are, whatever, here's the article, here, we're asking you for comment, blah, 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 blah. They will say, I'm not far right. I'm not far right. I'm progressive. In some cases, they even say, even Tim Pool types, I'm actually progressive.
Okay, Tim Pool types will, yes. That's not a Tucker Carlson type. That's for an explicitly different purpose, though.
Okay, but
Taylor, I think
they're not. Just let me finish.
Well, Taylor, you've been cutting me off this whole time.
Respectfully, all I am saying is that when you're
would you characterize? He should ask her. Would you characterize Tim Pool as a progressive?
Writing an article, we do our best to be accurate. Now, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist and that's so inaccurate, again, she could happily request a correction from Wired. She never did. No one
Hutch. Can I reframe this? Because
ever raised.
The point is not necessarily whether or not it's accurate to call her a centrist. If this was like the specific pedantic sticking point, I can see this like, this is for. But it's not. What Hutch is getting at is that this article is clearly viewed as, hey, we're painting these chorus people who are taking this money as these kind of shills, these DNC operatives who are just paid to get these talking points and just repeat exactly what the do-nothing centrist Dems do, right? And that's kind of where the perspective that he's saying...
I didn't say any of this was bad at all. I was just reporting the facts and truth. And if you think it's bad at any point and I can't defend it, then that was my editors.
This is kind of like an opinionated...
that's taking a lot from an article that doesn't say a lot. And I don't doubt that that's how TikTokers were taking it. And that's not how TikTokers and people on Instagram threads are taking it. But if you actually read the article... you will see that it is quite clear what we say. And this is not a DNC.
Listen.
This is poor Shelby at the DNC had to kept being like, guys, this is not a DNC program. Obviously, they support the DNC. But the DNC has its own influencer program.
On August 27th, you tweeted, the 90 influencers involved appear to be primarily centrist, pro-DNC,
yes,
who have not spoken about Palestine, are pro-Israel. Those are your words.
Yes.
But you just said a moment ago, you're kind of distancing yourself from that framing.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
That's what Soy Pill just confronted you with, and you said, well, I can understand why people walked away with that, but those are your words.
I'm sorry. They're centrist. Like, again, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist, and that is factually wrong, and these people are not centrist, and this is factually wrong, that these content creators that are making content with Chuck Schumer, that are making content with Hakeem Jeffries, if they are not, if I was wrong, if this article is wrong, and it's factually wrong, then I highly encourage them to ask for a correction. But no one has asked for
like, our leaders in our Democratic Party are centrists? Like, how far left or like politically retarded do you have to be to assume that they wouldn't be like, unless you mean like centrists in the party, but like that doesn't make any sense to say that, right? Like would you ever call Mike Johnson centrist? I wouldn't. But that's like the legal or the lawmakers kind of head of the conservative lawmaker body. And Thune, I wouldn't call these guys centrist. They're like, they represent the entirety of the conservative movement or the conservative party, at least in Congress. Same thing with like when you're talking about like Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, calling them centrist is just very, very, very weird. You're making it sound like they're on the furthest outreach of like the Democratic Party. Like, would you say that Schumer is as far right as Bernie or AOC is as far left? If we're looking within the context of the Democratic Party, that doesn't make any sense.
step by steps.
Saying that they are not centrist. No one.
Let's just do it step by step. Hutch, is it your contention that it's inaccurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist?
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she
in
used
virtue
that
of
word
what?
Intentionally. Well, I don't know why you.
You understand
that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative.
No, hang on. So separate that intent.
Saying that they are not centrist. No one.
Let's just do it step by step. Hutch, is it your contention that it's inaccurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist?
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she
in
used
virtue
that
of
word
what?
Intentionally. Well, I don't know why you.
You understand
that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative.
No, hang on. So separate that intent. So you can make a critique of an article based on its accuracy or based on whether there's some bad motive.
I'm trying to get to a larger.
Is it your contention? I know, but let's just do it step by step. Let's do it step by step, right? Is it inaccurate? And so, and if it's inaccurate, why is it inaccurate?
It's inaccurate because her policy priorities do not line up with what any reasonable person would assert to be a centrist. When you look at the things that she's advocating for. Okay, that's fine.
But there's a fact of the matter there. We can look at it as factually as a fact of the matter. What do they actually support politically? Where does the American public poll on these issues? Where do the lawmakers in Congress stand on these issues? We can look at that. Just because somebody says a thing, you never use self-ID for politics. Nobody does that. Nobody analyzes politics that way. That's obviously such a stupid way of viewing things. In fact, like I would almost say that that's like a word that you use almost as like an insult in and of itself, or like a meme, like a self-described, John Smith, a self-described blah blah blah, a self-described whatever, self-described. Like usually this is like a almost like a meme kind of adjective, way to describe things. It's such a dumb. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's so stupid.
You can just make this argument about anything.
What does it mean to be pro-DNC or pro-Israel? What does that mean?
So pro-DNC means pro-Democrat, like pro sort of the Democrat establishment, what I would say, which is very much Corus's goal. And pro-Israel means that the majority of people that we found that were public, which is why I think it's so crucial for them to actually release these names publicly, because I think if this is not the majority view held among their creators, they should release these names publicly to make it clear what is the ideological makeup of their Corus class. But a lot of the people that we found were also pro-Israel, meaning they were expressing support for Israel.
What does that mean?
And
how many creators?
What does express support for Israel mean, by the way? Like, I don't want the country to be deleted. Is that?
But of like all the creators that you saw, would you say we're posting pro-Israel posts? Can you name names there?
No.
Well, that's the point, right? Is that they haven't published the roster. They haven't published.
How do you know?
The roster, but a decent amount of ones that we checked.
Did anybody in the people that you mentioned in the article, so like Olivia Pacman, Brian Tyler Cohen, did any of them post pro-Israel content?
You'll have to
Cohen
go check their specific feeds. But Brian,
it's your article. Why are you telling him to fact check or research your article? What?
Tyler Cohen.
You claim that they were primarily pro-Israel, right?
Yeah. Well, some people that are pro-Israel.
Me, when I submit article to or review or study to fucking Nature, it's like, oh, how did you do the calculation? Right? I don't know. Why don't you go consult the database? Why don't you go check the table? I don't know. Get a calculator, dumbass. Go check. I don't know.
Don't speak about the genocide in Gaza at all, for instance. And that's another
content.
You'll have to go check their specific feeds. But Brian Tyler Cohen.
You claim that they were primarily pro-Israel, right?
Yeah. Well, some people that are pro-Israel just don't speak about the genocide in Gaza at all.
That makes you pro. So if you don't call it a genocide, number one, and then if you don't speak on the topic, that makes you pro-Israel? It's fucking retarded.
For instance, and that's another
the same thing as being pro-Israel.
Yes, because
that's just fucking retarded, bro. Kill me, dude. Get me out of here. I'm going back to eugenics tomorrow.
Because a way that pro-Israel narratives have been shaped by the media is by not mentioning the genocide. So intentionally refusing to cover.
Intentionally refusing. How do you even know that? How do you even ascertain that bias as opposed to accidentally not talking about it?
The genocide, especially as it was this politically relevant topic.
Is that what you were alleging?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you look at the pro-Israel kind of creator landscape, there's a range of pro-Israel people. There's people that are straight up making content with the IDF. They're super overt about it. And then
how many people in America are pro-DNC people are that? What? How many are that? How many people are like that? What?
There are people that are a little bit more behind the scenes, people that are a little bit quieter about it. They might not be overt, but they're still.
Well, by the way, you're suggesting that if somebody chooses not to discuss the genocide in Gaza, and that makes them pro-Israel. I find that to be
that's not
that's literally what you just said. That is literally what you just said. Is it the clown mirror? I need to go back to calling these out. We could write a whole list of fallacies that just Taylor Lorenz engages in. Every time you try to repeat a person's argument back to them, for some reason, it's just never correct. You can never state it correctly, and they always refuse your characterization of what they've said every single fucking time.
I said, that's not what I said.
Wait a second.
What I said is that some people, no, what I said is that some people who are pro-Israel,
now we obfuscate.
That they sort of the way that their content manifests is that they are not as overt. So what they'll
the way that some people make content is that the content doesn't manifest in talking about the genocide.
Do is they'll try to tamp down discussion. They'll be sometimes deleting comments, a lot of times just intentionally ignoring the issue, or when they're asked, to interview a politician, especially this was a big issue in the lead up to.
They don't ask them questions relentlessly about Israel-Palestine and the genocide.
The 2024 election, you had people saying, like, sort of minimizing the issue, attempting to minimize it, attempting not to get people on the left to talk about it.
Okay, does that qualify? Does that apply to any creator that was mentioned in your article?
Well, you'll have to go through and do an audit of all of their content, but it's certainly.
I thought 15 people audited your article, assuming you even wrote it at this point. I thought isn't it your article? If Hutch were to go through and do all the work on this, is she going to stick him on the byline? Does he get credit for this? Like,
certainly,
isn't that your job? No, you made the claim.
It is.
Yeah,
you said that the group was primarily pro-Israel. Isn't it your job to go through their
from the group that we saw? From the amount of creators that we saw, that was a common theme. But that wasn't necessarily a.
You didn't say a common theme. You said they were primarily pro-Israel.
Yeah, from the group of creators that we saw, that we were evaluating.
So I'll ask again, was anybody that you mentioned in your article someone that you would say was pro-Israel?
Well, you'll have to go look at the article and figure that out for yourself based on the creators.
Wait,
not
I'm speaking
all of the
with
creators.
you. I don't understand.
But we're not going to, there's a lot of creators that we spoke to for this article that we know are in chorus that weren't mentioned in the article.
I'm just asking you if anyone in your article you consider to be pro-Israel.
Well, I don't know. You'll have to, I really don't. I don't remember which creators that we named and didn't name off the top of our head, but I think you can just go and look at them and frankly ask the creators themselves. That's a great.
Also, listen to the which creators we named. Who else is writing this article and why aren't they listed somewhere? I want to see that name. Talk about transparency. I want to know who else wrote this article. This seems pretty important. Was it somebody from Omidyar? Like, who else is writing this article with you that you're describing the article as being written by we and us now? Who's on the team, bruh? Also, I like how before, if you're not covering Israel, if you're not covering the genocide, that makes you pro-Israel. Well, how do I figure out if somebody's pro-Israel? I don't know. Ask them. Do you think somebody who's not covering the genocide is going to tell you openly, yeah, I'm pro-Israel, that's why I don't cover the genocide? What?
And didn't name off the top of our head. But I think you can just go and look at them and frankly ask the creators themselves. That's a great thing to do.
I just don't know why you would say that 90 influencers were primarily pro-Israel, but you can't name.
No. We said 90. We said the creators that we were able to suss out as being part of the program. So one thing that we asked, is for them to publish a roster so that people could take a broader look. Maybe this is just a section, right? Maybe this is just a small section.
So it could be an unrepresentative section.
Exactly. It could be a totally unrepresentative section. They could have.
But what was the methodology?
What? Also, I like how people are asking methodology. Like this motherfucker is going to say anything beyond, I don't know, we saw fucking 5 random dudes, whoever the fuck we came across. What was the methodology? Oh my God.
To decipher whether they're pro-Israel, was it
mostly whether like their own state.
Oh, that.
Or whether they had shown up in other influencer, like pro sort of Israel influencer efforts.
I'm sure there are some, but how many pro-Israel left-wing efforts were there the past year and a half? I must have missed a lot of these, or I didn't get offered. Where the fuck is my goddamn IDF payout? I need my Mossad money, goddammit.
Oddly. I mean, there are people also that I've talked to in this program that identify as Zionists privately and don't want to identify as a Zionist publicly.
Bullshit. The number, by the way, is fucking 0. Sue me about it. There is no shot that somebody went to Taylor Lorenz and they're like, just so you know, Taylor, I am Zionist, but I like to keep it under wraps. Taylor Lorenz, person who writes character assassination hit pieces on literally every motherfucker that you don't like. Bullshit. Not true. No shot. 0% chance.
So I'm not trying to put specific creators on blast. I actually don't think that being pro or anti-Israel was ever something that was necessarily, something that would get you in or out of chorus at all. But it clearly is a.
That's useful to clear up. So
yeah,
as
and
you sit here,
I said that after this array went up too. Yeah.
But in your conversation on Current Affair, you did absolutely buy into the manufacturing logic that those hosts were presenting, which they were saying that they were heavily suggesting that the creators that were invited into course were chosen because they were not speaking up about Gaza.
So you're talking about a guy that used to work for Brian Tyler Cohen, who was working.
No, I understand that.
What? Wait, what is her?
Go ahead, Hutch. But in your conversation on Current Affair, you did absolutely buy into the manufacturing logic that those hosts were presenting, which they were saying that they were heavily suggesting that the creators that were invited into course were chosen because they were not speaking up about Gaza.
So you're talking about a guy that used to work for Brian Tyler Cohen, who was working.
No, I understand that, but you agreed with that framing.
For David Pakman. Well, listen, I'm not going to disagree with whatever he wants to say was his experience working for David Pakman, one of the leaders of Chorus. This is his former producer.
He was commenting on your reporting. No, he was going beyond his experience, and he was suggesting that Chorus was choosing creators because they were not speaking up about Israel.
He said that he was told when he worked for David Pakman that they were not supposed to be overt about the Israel stuff.
No,
and you can go back and listen to that and take issue with that. But he worked for David Pakman. I'm not going to argue with him working for David Pakman.
Taylor, he was speaking about your reporting.
In the context of his job, he worked for David Pakman. He was David Pakman's producer, so he would know better than anyone whether David Pakman, what his boundaries were around issues related to Israel and what sort of content they wanted to put up. He would know. He was literally David Pakman's producer, so he knows a lot better than I do. He has a lot more visibility into David Pakman's content than I do.
I think you're being evasive again because I'm not talking about his experience. I'm talking about his characterization of your reporting.
Well, his characterization is shaped by his experience, which he has a lot more of than I do.
But you bolstered that suggestion of manufacturing consent about this issue in Gaza.
I'm gonna again defer you to him. He actually worked for David Pakman, so you
agreed with the framing, Taylor. You agreed with the framing when they were having that conversation.
He worked for David Pakman, so if he says that these were the lines that David Pakman drove when he worked for him, and that David Pakman told him this, and he had visibility not into just David Pakman, but all these sort of people that David Pakman worked with, I am going to listen to him because again, he's a primary source.
Okay. Another part of your reporting referred to an older article that you wrote, I think a few months before this Chorus one, and you had described a 2024 situation where the Biden administration was, your quote was, snubbing creators who had lightly criticized Biden. Do you remember saying that?
I think you're talking about my Washington Post article when I wrote about the Biden administration effectively blacklisting content creators.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your Wired article about Chorus, you described that as the Biden. You said in 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
My issue with that is the word lightly, because I actually clicked on that article and I looked up the creators that you mentioned in that article. One of them was Aidan Cohn Murphy. He was tweeting that Biden created a man-made famine, was ignoring the law to enable.
Yeah, but he was blacklisted before all of that. He was blacklisted for the climate stuff.
Well, you mentioned him, and so when you say lightly,
but at that point he had only lightly criticized. So the Biden.
No, that's not true. I went through his tweets and I found tweets in 2024.
Jake, you're talking about Aidan Cohn Murphy, who is the co-founder of TikTok for Biden. Just to be clear, the co-founder of TikTok for Biden. So Aidan ended up being very critical of Joe Biden.
That was a 2020. That was a 2020 effort, right?
No, that was well into 2022. That was
the TikTok for Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Gen Z for Change
but in 2024,
still even how she says right here, like 2022. Sure, but this is years ago, right?
But in 2024, Taylor, he was directly accusing Biden of being complicit in genocide.
But we're not talking about that. He's speaking, by the way, as a member of Gen Z for Change, and he's talking about the evolution of TikTok for Biden through Gen Z for Change. And part of the reason why TikTok for Biden became Gen Z for Change, and part of the reason why there was this whole evolution, is because Biden's whoever was in charge of sort of digital press there was blacklisting creators that were even just lightly critical. And I'm not saying that Aidan
is backing up to the general claim now because she doesn't want to talk about the specific one.
Not lightly criticizing Biden.
Maybe Aidan eventually was not, but
it wasn't just him. There was also Elise Joshi. She made similar accusations. She accused the Biden administration of being complicit in genocide, right?
No. But Elise wasn't banned for any of that. It was the climate stuff.
How do you even know that? And even if it was for the climate stuff, also she's doing this thing, Pixie did this in the deposition. She's doing this thing where she has like highly specific knowledge when she feels like it's an argument that she can defend. But then for her other articles, like, I don't fucking remember writing any of that shit. I don't know. 15 editors, brah. But you want to talk about Jake, the co-founder, 2022, founded this thing, and why specifically? It's like, yeah, okay.
It's the climate stuff and for COVID. So this is all back in 2022, 2023, even 2021, when Biden started to say, hey, COVID is over, everybody get back to work. A lot of disability justice activists, a lot of climate activists were like lightly being like, hey, well, what about this? What about these promises that you made, right?
Okay, Khalil Green. In your Chorus article, you do reference that several creators were snubbed for lightly criticizing him. And then when I click on the hyperlink, the creators that you did mention, they were not lightly criticizing Biden.
Because those are some of the people that we quoted as giving sort of expert commentary on that on that fracturing, which is, again, quoting Aidan, the founder of TikTok for Biden, talking about Gen Z for Change. But a lot of the creators that were ultimately snubbed, I would say, blacklisted, they would say, they certainly did not. In some cases, people from the digital team just didn't like that they were liking posts that were critical of the administration.
Well, I read the article. I didn't read anything about that. I just read about.
Well, I'm happy to elaborate.
Doesn't matter. Sorry, you publish an article. That's it. That's like when you argue with people about a movie and they're like, well, if you look at the comic on blah blah, it's like, oh, I didn't read a comic. It was a movie, motherfucker.
To zoom out, Taylor, I mean, the point here is not just...
Also, Notice how for the Chorus article, Hutch needed to go do all of his own homework and all of his own research to figure out what's going on. But for this one, she's happy to volunteer when she's defending her own. These people got blacklisted by the Biden admin. Like, I can tell you every single tweet they made that I know I can defend, and I can defend every single part of these people because they're on my team and I love them. But when it comes to people she's slandering in the Wired article, I don't know about those people. Fuck them, dude. They probably fucking want to kill every Palestinian kid they see. I don't know. Fuck, go look it up. Go look it up yourself. I don't know. Go check their own shit. I don't know. Go see every single fucking post they've made to see if I can concretely say that they've never brought up, Palestine, or that I know that they're intentionally ducking bringing up Israel because they haven't brought it up and they should have.
Oh, did they or did they not lately criticize? It's that if you read this paragraph, it seems to be that you're painting President Joe Biden and his administration as this snowflakey, you can't even say the slightest bad thing. But in reality,
they were extremely. There you go. The Biden administration, the way that they dealt with not just the sort of the creators, compared to Obama, not compared to Trump. Trump's even more crazy. But really, I would say compared to Obama, they were incredibly sensitive. And
not to show my age, but how much social media would even existed in 2008, 2012? In 2012, more for sure, but what? I don't know. I don't even know how to engage with that statement.
I think that sensitivity only grew throughout his presidency for so many reasons. Number one, he was older. And, I think there was a lot more protectionism. They were less likely to let a lot of creators in. They were getting nervous about unfiltered press. This is also why they started to get very prickly with the actual journalists as well. And again, nothing compared to Trump. Trump kicked out all the reporters from the Pentagon and just gave us influencers. However, he was incredibly prickly, and still even compared to his team, compared to most of the other.
Well, Taylor, I'm just going off of your reporting, and I did read both of these articles multiple times. I tried my best to really take what you were saying at face value. And
can you pull up Peace Coast chat during this? I'm sure it's all relentlessly defending Taylor and then shitting on Hutch and calling him a pedophile or some crazy shit.
The only podcast with a
How deep is this? 1 hour ago. So maybe
of the administration.
Well, I read the article. I didn't read anything about that. I just read about.
Well, I'm happy to elaborate.
To zoom out, Taylor. I mean,
Hey, Destiny. I don't think Destiny is anti-Israel enough, but I don't think he is a Zionist. How most leftists use the term. I wonder if somebody brought it up earlier. Why are y'all bringing up Destiny? He's not in Chorus. He's irrelevant to this discussion. Wasn't he on record telling, I don't know, soldiers? Oh, he meant to say IDF. Soldiers to not film themselves committing crimes. Hold the line, Hutch. Don't let her bullshit. Sorry, IDF. Ooh, Taylor can't take criticism at all. Is Hutch arguing Pac-Man is not pro-Israel? If you are a political commentator and you never talk about Israel, I think it is fair to say that you have pro-Israel views that won't play well with the audience. What do these guys say when you bring up the fact that you never mention Yemen and what happened there? That you never mention any of Turkey's historical shit or modern day occupation of fucking Cyprus or their treatment of the Kurdish people, or you don't bring up any, what was going on with Hezbollah in Syria. You don't bring up, there are so many things that you could bring up that you don't. I don't know. Hutch, let her finish her sentences. I feel like his YouTube chat is actually more balanced than I thought it would be, or generally leaning in favor of Hutch, I think.
Point here is not just, oh, did they or did they not lately criticize? It's that if you read this paragraph, it seems to be that you're painting President Joe Biden and his administration as this snowflakey, you can't even say the slightest bad thing. In reality,
they were extremely. The Biden administration, the way that they dealt with not just the sort of the creators, compared to Obama, not compared to Trump. Trump's even more crazy. But really, I would say compared to Obama, getting nervous about unfiltered press. This is also why they started to get very prickly with the actual journalists as well. And again, nothing compared to Trump. Trump kicked out all the reporters from the Pentagon and just gave us influencers. However, he was incredibly prickly, and still even compared to his team, compared to most of the other.
Well, Taylor, I'm just going off of your reporting, and I did read both of these articles multiple times. I tried my best to really take what you were saying at face value and approach it in good faith. And just in your reporting, the creators that you did cite I think went well beyond
eventually, but not when they were blacklisted.
No,
eventually,
in 2024.
Khalil Green, I'm sorry, Khalil Green is not a radical. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not true. Like, these are not a lot of these people. I'm
not calling them a radical. I'm
saying
with your characterization of their criticism.
Elise and Aiden eventually began criticizing him a lot more openly. However, neither of those started criticizing him very openly
in 2024.
No, okay, but neither of them were doing that when they got blacklisted. And Khalil Green has never come out and been some sort of aggressive critic of the Biden administration.
What was the timeline for when they got blacklisted? Do you remember when that happened?
After between 2020 and 2024, it's sort of throughout that whole time period.
What? Okay, that's a pretty broad range of dates, but okay.
Because it was COVID, it was climate, it was Gaza eventually, it was student.
The examples that you gave, they were not light criticisms when I read this. So.
Well, COVID, a lot of this was also them trying to do stuff behind the scenes. I mean, these were people that, and not just them, by the way, this was dozens of content creators had this experience, and journalists as well had this experience throughout the Biden administration. You can read about it in Alex Thompson's great book. The Biden administration was they became more and more intense about restricting access to the administration, restricting access to press, they for good reason. Now we know why, but it is a fact.
Okay, listen, I don't want to bombard you. Let me make one more kind of if you don't mind, if you're okay, I'd like to ask you just one more question regarding the piece, and then we can kind of get to the overall point and just finish.
How come you never asked me or Peace?
Dude, look at her eyes. God, she's such a fucking demon. Look. Oh my God. She must practice these in the mirror. She's got to.
One more question regarding the...
Fuck, is there... Hold on. Oh my God.
Or kind of if you don't mind, if you're okay, I'd like to ask you just one more question regarding the piece, and then we can kind of get to the overall point and just finish.
How come you never asked me or Pisco or Guy?
Okay, let's hear it.
So the part,
the diagonal eye flutter. Jesus Christ!
Part of your reporting that I think is the weakest, the most vulnerable to attack is your characterization of the contract language. Specifically, when you talked about the contract required chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they, what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were booking appearances.
In the contract.
Hold on.
When you talked about the contract required chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they, what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were booking appearances.
That's a lie. I don't believe it. Nope. She's never released a contract saying otherwise, never released a statement saying otherwise. I've only seen newer Chorus contracts at this point. I don't believe nothing that she posted about that contract affirmed that. I think it's either a misreading that she had of the contract or just a blatant fucking lie. I don't believe this point at all.
In the contract, that's what it said.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and
oh boy, are we going to pull out the classic, I can't publish the contract, we'd get sued?
Look, certain people had certain aspects of the contract enforced against them. Certain people didn't have aspects of the contract enforced against them.
I don't recall a single enforcement mechanism or a single enforcement of the contract against anybody. That would have actually been really strong reporting. Can anybody recall that? That would have been really, if she could say that a content creator attempted to interview Mamdani or tried to interview some politician and Chorus stepped in and reprimanded them for it, that would have been a really strong piece of reporting. But she's not a real journalist or a real reporter, so she would never have anything of substance like that in a piece. She writes AI slop and somehow sells it to mainstream outlets.
And
did you see any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
No, that's not what I asked.
That was a good question by Hutch. She was fucking lied. She's a liar, right? You heard her lie about that, right? That was a fucking lie. This is what I had to do in my conversation with her. You have to push on every specific thing you possibly can. So she just admitted she completely fucking lied about that, right?
Through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract.
Wait, sorry.
Funnel all their
contract enforced against them. And
did you again, any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
That's the claim that Taylor just made. She just said that everybody has to funnel all their things through Chorus.
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
That's not...
So what? That's their interpretation of it? Why the fuck would you care about that? And they didn't even sign the contract. What?
They had to leverage.
What was it? Put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were booking appearances.
That's what she said, right? What was Hutch's question here?
Creators to funnel the contract language. Specifically, when you talked about the contract required Chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were making when they were booking appearances.
In the contract, that's what it said.
Yeah.
But that's not, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and look, like certain people had certain aspects of
any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
That's not what I asked. Hang on.
So
yeah, they were told that. Yes, they were told that. Yes, they were told that.
Not that they were told. I'm asking you, did you actually get a single example from any creator who actually had to funnel booking through Chorus?
Nope. No.
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
That's not what he said. I wish I could do this. This is such a good skill. Do for gaslighting, lying. Oh my God. Do you see how easily she just lied there? Hold on. Did you catch these lies? I'm not joking. It's impressive.
Really had to funnel booking through Chorus.
Did you talk to anybody who was required to, who had to funnel booking through Chorus?
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
Yeah, we talked to creators who funnel booking through. That's not what he said. He said we're required to. We're prohibited from booking stuff otherwise. It's not the same thing.
No.
Yes.
Hang on. I'm asking you, did you talk to anyone that told you that all of the bookings that they did had to go through Chorus?
We spoke to a creator
who didn't sign the contract. She lied. I knew she lied about this. I am coming. I knew she fucking lied about this. She did. She was a fucking liar about it. 100%. And when I think Pisco was on, I won't say my side, but was on this side, and it was Aaron arguing against him. He was trying to, I think, make this absurd argument that Taylor meant something different or whatever the fuck bullshit. But Taylor fucking lied about this part in the article that she wrote. 100%.
Who was told that all of the bookings that they had to do if they wanted to do bookings, it would have to be filtered through Chorus. And so he chose not to take that. Just let me finish. Why don't you let me finish?
You're not answering my question.
I am answering your question.
You're not. I'm asking you in practice. Did you have a single example of a creator who told you that Chorus in practice?
She's going to repeat the last lie she just said. We talked to people who funneled through Chorus.
Just told them they had to funnel everything through Chorus.
Yes.
Can you? What you just described was not that. So could you?
Well, I'm trying to give you additional context, but you don't want it.
No, I do, but you're not answering my question.
I just answered your question. Yes.
I don't think you are.
Can you repeat it, Taylor, just in case Hutch missed something? But I'm not sure I heard it to be the same as what was described in the article. So
we spoke. I don't even think we went into this amount of detail in the article. We spoke to a creator.
What? But following the initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some stipulations, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. So this isn't even the creator's interpretation. She's saying that, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. Technically, these two sentences are contradicting to each other because this is saying at the end here they just have to loop them in, and the first one is saying creators of the program have to funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. So the sentences aren't even consistent. But so this was a fucking lie. This was never true. This was not true.
And approach it in good faith. And just in your reporting, the creators that you did cite, I think, went well beyond.
Eventually, but not when they were blacklisted.
No, eventually. In 2024.
Khalil Green. I'm sorry, Khalil Green.
Well, we just went to, I'm sorry, my brain just got fucked.
To a creator that was told when he pushed back on the contract before the contract was signed, he was like, hey, I kind of want to sign this contract. I kind of want to do this program, but there's this clause that says I have to use the Chorus newsroom. Do I really have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking? He was told through his agent, yes, you do have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking.
I think that she could be honest here, but it's a lie. She's making an honest statement possibly, but it's like a lie. Like, imagine if I were to sign up with Chorus and part of the Chorus contract is we're going to make this newsroom available to you guys. We expect you guys to utilize it. If we are going to pay you, you're going to sign up. You guys need to do, at least fucking one booking or whatever. I don't know if they had an actual, in the terms, you have to book 2 people per month or whatever, but you need to do some booking. So when a person says, do I have to book something through your newsroom? And they're like, yeah, you have to do a booking. Yeah, Jesus, of course. Yeah, you got to do at least one. Yeah. And she's like, they said in the contract that they had to do bookings through this. But we're talking, I don't know, there's a grammar trick here that's being played. Oh fuck, what was the other topic this came up in? I think it was the men are rapists. I saw some woman, or I think there was discourse about this. It was somebody tweets out men are rapists. And then I think a guy quote tweets and he responds, he's like, it's kind of crazy that you're saying all men are rapists. That's a crazy thing to tweet out. And then the woman was like, I didn't say all men are rapists. I just said that men are rapists. Seems like you're the one that interpreted it that way. And I was like, well, hold on. that's kind of a tricky, we're playing a tricky grammar game at that point, right? Like black people are thieves. And somebody's like, that sounds kind of racist, bro. What do you mean? There are black thieves, aren't there? There are black people that are thieves. Well, but you said black people are thieves. I didn't say all black people are thieves. Like when you just say the one thing, it kind of sounds like you're talking about the entire category. You don't usually have to specify all. Like chairs have 4 legs. It kind of sounds like you're saying all chairs have 4 legs. And she's playing this game here where it's like they had to do their bookings through Chorus. All of them? Because that implies that they had to do all their bookings through Chorus. I didn't say all of them. I don't even know if they've gotten to that part yet. Sorry, fuck. Okay, I'll stop breaking this. I'm sorry. She just lies so much. It's an insane lie.
Chorus Newsroom. Do I really have to use the Chorus Newsroom for booking? He was told through his agent, yes, you do have to use the Chorus Newsroom for booking. Other people, when they took part in the program, when they said, oh yeah, I'm going to book this thing, they were told you have to use the Chorus Newsroom for that, and they did ultimately use the Chorus Newsroom. Other people,
like examples, an email, a communication, anywhere,
use the Chorus Newsroom and never questioned it. It was in the contract, and it would have never occurred to them to even question what was in the contract because they signed a contract saying this, so they didn't challenge it. When they were asked for comment on this, Chorus didn't deny it. And that's the truth. That's all.
Chorus didn't deny it. It sounds like Chorus didn't provide comment at all, right? I think there was some guy at the end that said something. Graham Wilson of the Elias Law Group, whose participation in a Zoom call was reported upon. He did not respond to Wired's pre-publication email requesting comment, reached out to Wired on several points. So that's it. So I don't think Chorus commented at all. That's a very sneaky way of her saying that, though. I don't know if you would actually be allowed to say that, generally speaking, in a publication. Like if somebody were to write an article saying like Stephen Bunnell is a murderer, and then they reach out to me and I don't respond for comment, usually it'll say like, we reached out to Stephen Bunnell and Mr. Bunnell didn't respond to request for comment or didn't respond to pre-publication request for comment. I don't know if you could write in the article though, Stephen Bunnell didn't deny that he had murdered somebody. That's kind of a different claim because it implies that we had a conversation and I didn't specifically deny that thing, but whatever, bro. When
they were asked for comment on this, Chorus didn't deny it. And that's the truth. That's all the information.
When we were asked for a comment on it, they didn't comment.
They didn't respond to it, but that's not the same as verifying.
No, they didn't deny it.
So they did respond?
Well, that's not the same as verifying that the letter of the contract was actually being enforced, and that's the big issue here.
They didn't deny it, and they didn't deny it.
But she keeps saying that. Did they respond at all? Fuck. Does anybody ask that? I don't think. Did Chorus respond at all? I thought Chorus didn't respond for comment at all.
That's still your job as a journalist to verify that it's something that's enforced.
We did verify it with the content creators who said on the record that this happened, and that's why it's in the story.
I don't think you demonstrated that in the story.
You didn't.
We have a quote from a creator saying that he chose not to sign the contract over this.
That's not the same thing, though. I feel like you're being quite.
Yeah, she is slimy as fuck.
To be clear, like Taylor, there's a difference between a creator understood this contract to be I can't do anything unless I go through the newsroom, and they were not allowed to do it unless they went through the newsroom. Correct. And unless they clarify that because they did not comment, it's not really established. And the article portrays it as that is exactly how it was.
True.
The contract, that is how all evidence that we have shows that that's how it was. But did some people...
All evidence that we have? So you don't have anything dispositive? You don't show it actually being enforced that way? You can't conclusively say? Now you just made that sound probabilistic. What do you mean? Are we inferring here?
People that maybe not have the contract enforced against them? Sure, I'm sure, because clearly they were only enforcing certain parts of the contract for certain people. Yes. So clearly...
Well, no, I mean, what is your evidence for that, by the way?
Speaking to the content creators.
Nothing about that was in your article that gave me the sense that they were giving preferential treatment and not enforcing it here and enforcing it there. That was not in your article.
Well, literally, I mean, you can see in the article certain people. Why do you think this article exists? Because the content creators were frustrated. They wanted to speak out about things. They felt like they weren't able to speak out. That's
why weren't they able to? What do you? Couldn't they just tweet about it?
Why? That's part of why they spoke.
Well, the other thing was like the takedown clause. Like that sounds very restrictive, right? The way that your article describes that language is that, Chorus reserved the right to like strike down any content.
I mean, we quote directly from the contract. Yeah.
I understand. The problem here, Taylor, is with all three of these things, the funneling, express authorization, takedown clauses, would this not be standard language in a contract for a 501c4?
I've seen a lot of these contracts. I just wrote another story for Wired on another dark money influencer program, and none of this language has been in the other contracts that I've seen that are for similar programs.
Well, this here is a talent incubator program. The other one just sounded like a standard ad campaign, no? And she definitely didn't publish any part of the contract there. These are totally different types of contracts. This sounds like something a contract illiterate person would say when comparing the two, or just somebody who's lying. More likely that she's a fucking liar, but...
Okay, but you understand that, like, obviously, like a 501c4, they have to be in compliance with like the law, and to protect their status, they can't have a certain threshold of their operational kind of structure and funds and stuff going towards things like campaigns and elections and things like that. So in that context,
I'm telling you, I write about dark money.
So what Hutch is saying is absolutely correct. I guess he must have done a lot of research on this. And Taylor is lying. God, I hate her so much. I legitimately hate this fucking person. So for C4s, for 501c4s, Hutch said it was a percentage. I don't know if you can have any money going directly to campaigns or to campaign-aligned PACs. Or if you could, it would be like subject to the same campaign contributions. So like, for instance, okay, let's say that I have a super PAC, and let's say that I look at a political action committee that's campaign aligned, right? I think your campaign contribution limit, I think it's $3,000 for PACs. I don't know if C4s could donate directly to PACs. If they can, or if individuals can, I'm going to be restricted at either $3,000 or $5,000, right? But hold on. Oh, I just got this super sneaky tricky idea. What if I pay like 20 influencers all $6,000 to go do a thing for them? And also I tell, or, I wink all of my influencers, you guys should all donate like $1,000 each to that campaign, like on a stream or something to like drive up hype for it or something, right? My guess is almost certainly that C4 would get in big trouble. Hold on. You just donated, basically, you funneled $20,000 to a PAC, to like an FEC regulated entity that has a campaign contribution limit. This is what Dinesh D'Souza got fucked for, by the way, was giving $10,000 to a married couple and telling both of them to donate to his friend. You can't do that. So what he's talking about right here, what Hutch is talking about is a company is obviously going to cover their ass, and they're going to say, hey, you can't contribute or send this money to any direct political person without talking to us first, because they have to cover their ass to make sure that the people that they're paying as talent aren't doing shit with their money that might call into question what they're telling their content creators and their incubator program to do, right? Because it looks really shady. What if, it came out that 90 people from the Chorus incubator program all donated $2,000 to some political action committee? Well, now it kind of looks like the fucking slush money dark fund is basically funneling money through to an official campaign to get around contribution limits. That's what it looks like. I'm sorry. So what Hutch is saying here, and I feel like we even saw that language in another contract. I don't remember we saw it in one specifically, but this is absolutely going to be boilerplate on any C4. My guess is on any 501c4, this is going to be boilerplate. Even in the new Chorus contracts, I'd have to bring it up again. I'm pretty sure this language was still there. And it makes sense why, because you want to cover your ass this way, 100%.
Elections, operational kind of structure and funds and stuff going towards things like campaigns and elections and things like that. So in that context,
I'm telling you, I write about dark money.
Hang on, real quick. Could you not read this language as a company that is trying to protect itself, the status, and the creators themselves from violating the law?
Yes.
Well, the creators themselves often didn't agree with what was in the contract and were frustrated.
Totally fucking irrelevant. And no offense, creators are fucking retards. Why the fuck would I ever care about what a fucking YouTuber or a streamer? Half these fucking retards signed their lives away in contracts, don't even remember. Where is Hutch at? Remember Machinima? The Machinima days? I know you do. You were probably in Machinima. Dude, creators are retarded. Also, I'm sorry, you're a journalist. And I thought you had 20 million fucking legal people to consult with for the contract shit. Why the fuck would you go by, or at the very least, if you're going by a creator's interpretation, put that in the article. These creators thought that meant that they wouldn't be able to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Put that in there then.
That they couldn't speak out, for instance, and disclose that they were in the program. There's nothing to do with the law. Well, that's in the contract, and that's exactly what we're talking about here, right?
No, it's not, though. I'm talking about the funneling, express authorization, takedown clauses. All of these can be explained by a 501c4 trying to be compliant with the law.
No, because I just wrote about another 501c4 that literally just ran another dark money campaign. In some cases, approached some of the same exact Chorus influencers, and none of this was in that contract. So,
but their lack of potentially standard 501(c)(3) things is not, is not evidence that this is.
But I'm saying it's not standard. You guys are saying it's standard. I'm saying I have not seen it in other contracts. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in some contracts.
Hutch, are you claiming it's standard? You're not claiming it's standard, are you?
Well, based on what I looked...
He was the first Machinima signing. Damn. Everybody got fucked, I think, by the early Machinima contracts. Everybody got fucked by Machinima early on. That was like your rite of passage into the YouTube world. Although I think it was mainly FPS players that were signing to Machinima and stuff. For RTS, I think it was the Game Station or Polaris was the early MCN that rose up. This is like 15 years ago.
Looked into this language would be consistent with a 501c4 that is protected.
Is it your claim that it's standard or not?
Hang tight, Pisco. We can talk in a second. So Taylor,
conveniently, he doesn't want to answer you. Conveniently,
if a creator, for example, uploaded a video to their channel where they were endorsing a particular candidate, and the channel, this video was framed as something that came from Chorus, could that threaten Chorus's nonprofit status?
I think you'll have to look into the details of sort of like how that creator was disclosing it.
It's fucking just so bad faith, dude. So obviously bad faith. Our system cannot survive like these types of actors, by the way, especially foreign paid ones, right? That we can't. If I recall, Polaris was way after Machinima. No, I think one came first. It was either the Game Station or Polaris, but I think it was the Game Station first, and I think they turned into Polaris, or Polaris turned into the Game Station. I think.
Yes, it could possibly threaten their status. So if they had a clause in their contract that they could take down content, would it not be a better, like a good faith interpretation that they could very easily be trying to protect?
I've never seen a C4 put this stuff in a contract before.
Okay. And
I
can look into that after this.
But maybe they do, maybe they do. But like I said, I have reported on campaigns and I haven't seen it there before. I haven't, for instance, the Build American AI thing I just wrote about, they don't have Build American AI newsroom that you have to use, like I haven't seen this sort of language.
Would you concede that it's possible? Would you concede that it's possible that this language was specifically crafted to make sure that they were compliant with the law?
Until they comment on the record and explain their thinking behind it, I mean, we have no idea what their motivations were.
Well, but Taylor, I mean, like, let's be realistic here. Like, obviously, there are things that these people are restricted by. They cannot appear partisan in certain aspects, and
but that doesn't trickle down to the creator, and I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to.
I was just curious. I don't know if I could ever find one of these like publicly, but I just Googled 501c4 standard contract political. It's just kind of funny. This is the second link I clicked. Complying with the rules governing 501c4 organizations, key issues, maintaining tax status. Under the Internal Revenue Code, a 501c4 is a nonprofit organization with a mission to engage in social welfare activities benefiting the public good. It is not allowed to be used as a vehicle to directly benefit the business interests of the company that establishes it. The courts have not been clear as to the precise level of social or community benefit the organization's activity must engender to overcome any resulting benefit to the company. To mitigate this risk, one could take steps to separate the C4 from the establishing company. Possibilities include, but are not limited to, ensuring the company is not the sole source of the 501c4's funding and or having outside representation of the 501c4's governing board. One could also vet the nonprofit's activities to ensure that there is a strong position that they serve a social welfare interest. 501c4 organizations are prohibited from engaging primarily in political activity. Like, my guess is if we could find like a bunch of like C4 contracts, I bet they have a lot of boilerplate language to try to make sure that this separation of things from like actual hardcore like PACs or campaign aligned PACs or individual candidates, to make sure that there's a separation of funds there. Like my guess is it's pretty boilerplate. Even if it's not boilerplate, if I saw language like that in a contract, that's how I would read it as.
That doesn't trickle down to the creator, and I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to a lawyer, and I'd want to talk.
Excuse me. Fuck! I'm trying not to use female-coded bad words for. You had lawyers that you consulted with. Not only that, you literally quote a legal scholar or whatever in your stupid fucking article. Elizabeth Dubois, an assistant professor and university research chair in politics, communication, and technology at the University of Ottawa, who has researched the ways influences are reshaping the U.S. political system, says that we are seeing influences being pulled into these dark campaigns or shadow campaigns where the legal aspect is murky at best. Sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits. Oh, I wonder what kind of a clause we could add to a contract to kind of cover our asses to make sure that the government doesn't think that we're using influencers to evade FEC-established campaign spending limits.
Talk to somebody that works on these contracts and say, hey, I've reported on lots of these contracts. Why is it only in this contract there? And I'd want to, but that doesn't trickle down to the creator, and I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to a lawyer, and I'd want to talk to somebody that works on these contracts and say, hey, I've reported on lots of these contracts. Why is it only in this contract and not others? Why do they structure it this way and not in other ways?
My question is, why would you not immediately look at this like news reporter tool? Because the way it's painted in the article is like this sinister controlling tool, and not what makes the most sense to me, which is you need to make sure that we're not violating the law when you're reaching out to these places.
Because I've never known another C4
were able to schedule things outside with other politicians, so long as it wasn't chorus related, right?
Yeah, I've never. My point is
the funny thing here is if you pushed her specifically, I bet she hasn't seen any contracts from the other article that we read today by her. I bet we haven't seen those contract. And you know what? Fuck, we're never going to get these. I bet that there would be language, for instance, in those contracts saying that as part of these commercials, you cannot endorse a specific company, you cannot endorse a specific candidate, that it would have boilerplate language around what they're allowed to endorse in the ad so that they don't run into those issues of looking like they're doing a funnel to a campaign. Guaranteed. I bet if we look at every single content creator who did any of those AI ads, none of them probably point to like a specific, I don't know about companies. Maybe it wouldn't be as much trouble. Definitely nothing, not like a political candidate or any kind of like political action committee or whatever.
Is that I've written about all these campaigns. I've never seen this language in a contract before. I'm not familiar with any sort of booking systems that other people use. I would be very surprised. I talk to content creators that take part in a lot of these sort of campaigns. This is not standard from what I've seen. I'm sorry. Well, I know that it's...
Pisco silence is deafening. A lawyer who. Well, so Hutch has the accurate reading on Taylor here, that she is a bad faith, malicious actor. Guy doesn't give a fuck, which I think is funny. And no shade to him. He likes to follow politics and doesn't get into all this like murky, dramatic, crazy shit. I think the soy pill, I think he's just trying to be a good faith actor here. I don't know if he is like as bought into the idea that Taylor is like this evil, malicious figure that I believe. And I think Hutch believes. So I like that soy pill is here to ask questions. And then Pisco's just here to run defense for Taylor. I think every single time he's brought up anything, it's just to run defense for Taylor. If we're being good faith for Pisco, which he doesn't deserve, then the defense here would be that it would look bad if all three of them were dogpiling on Taylor here, so, which is fair, I guess. But
your interpretation
this is a new kind of media thing, right? Like it's still pretty novel.
No. Trump is, the right wingers have been doing this. They've been doing this for a while. The right wingers do it all the time.
He should ask for an example. What's one example of a C4 that's funneling money to right wing influencers? I'm curious if there's what answer she would give to that.
And you're well aware that 501c4s can lose their nonprofit status if they do too much electioneering, or if they do like event content like around like political campaigns and things like that.
Yeah,
I question why it seems as though you and your team didn't even consider that.
We did talk to other people. I had lawyers look at this contract. I had contract lawyers. Not to mention all the Hollywood agents that were involved in this. Half the influencers that we spoke to have agents and managers at major talent agencies that were involved in this. None of them raised this issue. So
None of them raised this issue? As in, none of them said that the language looked suspicious?
I'm not saying that...
Were you made aware of any actual instance where Chorus requested to take down content from any creator?
No, we didn't find any enforcement action on that.
Kind of weird.
Were you made aware of any creator that had to get express authorization before like setting up a interview with a politician?
We did talk to creators that were told they had to use the Chorus News.
No, but you keep doing this, Taylor. Come on, you're being slippery here.
She does. She's so good at that.
Sorry,
I'm not talking about people who are afraid of the contract.
But listen, all I can tell you is what my reporting says, and I know you guys want to know they had to use the Chorus News.
Authorization before like setting up a interview with a politician.
Was anybody prohibited from doing their own interviews?
Politician?
Well, people had to use the newsroom for stuff. They were told they had to use the newsroom. That's not the same.
We did talk to creators that were told they had to use the Chorus News.
No, but you keep doing this, Taylor. Come on, you're being
slippery here. I'm just telling you.
I'm not talking about people who are afraid of the contract.
But listen, all I can tell you is what my reporting says, and I know you guys want more. All I can tell you is what my reporting says and what I found and who we spoke to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to keep going around in circles. It is so pointless. None of this is relevant. You don't seem to have this issue with any other article that I've written about this stuff. It's crazy. It's just
this is the only article of yours that I'm familiar with. I did
like, I'm sorry, was he supposed to come with a binder full of criticisms for every single article you've written? What kind of statement even is that? What does that even mean? What? You don't seem to have this criticism for any other article? Uh-oh. Has he criticized the genocide in Gaza? Does that make him a anti-Taylor because he doesn't have any, or before this, was he pro-Taylor Lorenz since he didn't criticize any of the other articles? Like, it's fucking stupid.
Okay, so then you don't actually know, like, okay, all right. I'm sorry that, like, I'm trying to explain to you what we found in our reporting.
That's fine. I don't want to press you further. I just want to say that, I do think that you had an agenda with this article. I do think that you had opinions that you put in the article.
You can join the many...
On the right wing, call the right wing again. You can join the many Nazis, the white nationalists who say the same.
I have agendas on
I think the narrative that you were pressing was that the big, bad, corrupt establishment was paying Democratic shills and suppressing leftist voices. I think that
leftist voices? Where's the leftist voices in that? Where does it say leftist? Where are you even getting that from?
The opinions that seem to be censored, like, it's Gaza or too pro-climate change, like these are more progressive, more leftist ideas that are, as based on what the article is saying.
You guys sound like TikTokers.
But that's what it says in the article. What do you mean?
I mean, I just honestly, can I tell you, this is, I'm sorry to trigger you with the word centrist. This is a mainstream centrist Democrat program. Okay. It's for mainstream centrist Democrats, right? Look at the people that are in it. Overwhelmingly. Brian Tyler Cohen, I would say they're not trying to get radical.
Like, again, and I'm sorry, but like, and I mean, Taylor is like the number one victim of being online too much. If you look at Brian Tyler Cohen and you're like, he's a centrist guy, like, I'm sorry, we're on the internet, bruh. All of these people, I know that it's really hard for a lot of these people to understand this because you spend so much time online. Like, if you were to put me in any room with real people, for me, I would be far left. 100 trillion% I would be far left, right? Rolling back the Trump and fucking Bush era tax cuts, having like any pro-trans position at all, even in a room of Democrats, right? If you throw me in any room full of Democrats, Brian Tyler Cohen is going to be far left. I'm sorry that you're just delusional to say he's a centrist. Also, I don't know what the fuck centrist Democrat means. That's such a pointless amalgamation of terms. Centrist Democrat. I don't know what the fuck that term even means. It's a crazy, stupid fucking... Like, if I was looking between, like, Nebraska and California, and I were to say, like, he's halfway between Nebraska and California in Nevada, I don't know what the fuck that sentence even means. He's halfway between Nebraska and Florida in Iowa. I don't even know what the fuck that statement means. He's a centrist Democrat. I don't know what the fuck centrist Democrat means. I don't know what the fuck that's like such a meaningless term politically. Holy shit. I'm saying that. Sorry, hold on. I realize I have to make it clear. I do know what it means. Centrist is a slur. They were correct when they said that. Centrist is a slur that they use to demean Democrats that they feel like don't have an extreme enough position or the correct position on Gaza. That's what that actually means. Centrist is just a slur to attack Democrats. In the same way that I guess conservatives used centrist as the opposite of a slur, a compliment for right-wing fucking centrists.
Anarchists for this program. Do you think they are?
I think most reasonable people.
Like she said before that like Tim Pool likes to be prescribed as a progressive on some issues, not a centrist. I bet Tim Pool has spent most of his time saying, I'm not right wing, I'm centrist. Fuck, what's the name of that one website actually? What's the website that lets you search through all the YouTube logs or whatever? Channel. Tim Pool. 1.5 million subs. Centrist. I'm human! Click on the empty spots where foods are missing. Here and here? What the fuck? Here and here? Oh, hold on. I'm a pro at this. I got this. Okay. Continue.
Centrist show.
Right.
Perfectly centrist. In the certain moral orthodoxies, which now is the left. It explains it. The fear of being an apostate is remarkable. So here's we're talking about this a little bit before the show. I think Timcast is a perfectly centrist show.
Right.
Perfectly centrist in the people we have on, in the opinions of the principal individuals of it. Conservatives would disagree and agree at the same time. They'd probably say, well, you're fairly liberal, Tim, but I see what you're saying. The left would say, absolutely not, you're a right-winger.
Absolutely. I bet Constantine calls himself a centrist as well. He does, right? Where else does he call himself? December? Oh, holy shit. Wait, that was a long time ago. Wait, what the fuck? 2023. Is this sorted by date? No, not necessarily. Whatever. I found my example.
People, when they look at Brian Tyler Cohen, I don't think they would call him a centrist. I think they would call him a partisan Democrat.
A Democrat. Okay, a Democrat. This is a program by a notorious pro-Democrat group running a program to increase the Democrats.
What does that mean?
Notorious? Wait, I thought she said earlier that she wasn't normatively loading anything. Wait, where did Notorious come from?
Notorious.
Well, 1630 fund is pretty notorious. It's a pretty big
Notorious?
Big deal. I mean, it's a
We're
huge.
talking about 1630. We're talking, of course.
Big deal? Excuse me, big deal does not mean notorious. Notorious, by the way, means bad. Bad.
1630, which is the funder behind all of it, right?
I understand the difference.
1630 is a notorious dark money group. It is literally the liberal answer to the Koch network. I mean, it's very well known. They do a lot of work in the Democrat space.
Listen,
So
that's a separate conversation about like, about like should Democrats do any kind of dark money stuff while this is the letter of the law because of Citizens United?
Sure.
Like,
who cares? But we can debate it.
Fine.
But I'm just saying, like, you guys have this thing, like I have to say, it really annoys me, I guess, because like, I think.
Yeah, why?
And I think it's very revealing that you don't engage with most of my work.
Wait a second. I don't need to familiarize myself with your entire body of
What is this? What?
work to critique this article, Taylor.
Well, I think that the fact that you have only engaged with my work through tweets and through this article has given you a view of things that I would argue is
Taylor, you can't throw that at me. I like your pro-privacy or anti-privacy law or pro-privacy laws. I like your anti
okay, but like this is
crazy
stuff,
that
so, like,
I have the same beef.
But Taylor, I saw you making claims about these people. You said that out of the 90 creators, they're primarily pro-Israel.
The ones that we found.
That's a pretty big claim, but you couldn't name anybody. That's
well, I'm not
bizarre
going to put them out. I'm not going to. We didn't name the majority of content creators that we found in the program. We didn't.
Excuse me? You had no problem running down a whole ass list of names right here. What the fuck are you talking about? Influencers included in communication about the program: Olivia Juliana, Lauren Peretra, Barrett Adair, Suzanne Lambert, Ariel Fodor, Sander Jennings, David Packman, Leigh McGowan. I think she even names people that she like had a fight with in the past over something, where she drops their full names again. Like, it's very hit piece. Hit PC. Fuck. Where was this in the article? Oh, I know it was. I know she had their names in here. Six creators in the program showed a collaborative video running through political wins. Follow these creators, bringing you hope instead of doom scrolling. Tag, link to post. Based. People who were pictured on the web. Oh, no, wait, that's a different thing. Fuck. Several influencers who doggedly defended Chorus throughout that controversy. Like, this is a past controversy. Several people who defended them through a past controversy, including Elizabeth Booker Houston, a Democratic comedian and content creator on Instagram, and Ali O'Brien, a progressive content creator with more than 600,000 followers on TikTok, whose social security number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were involved in membership talks for the highest paid tier in Chorus's new creator incubator program. Neither responded. They weren't even in it. They were involved in membership talks. How the fuck do you even know that? Like, this is just wild. And now she's like, well, I don't want to name anybody who's blah, blah, blah.
Anybody. That's
well, I'm
bizarre.
not going to put them out. I'm not going to. We didn't name the majority of content creators that we found in the program. We didn't name.
Of the ones that you named in the article, you couldn't name a single one that was pro-Israel.
Yep.
I know that's now who's twisting words. I said you'll have to go through and ask. I don't even remember which creators we named in the article, but you can go through and the ones we did, and you can ask them their stance on Israel.
No, but this is your words. You said that they were primarily pro-Israel, and of all the people you named in the article, you can't give me one. That's bizarre.
Okay, go ask them. Go ask them then. Go ask them. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm asking you. You did reporting on them.
It doesn't say anything about Israel in the article. I don't know what to tell you.
That was your commentary.
He's referring to your tweet on the 27th.
Yeah, and that's my tweet, and I'm not gonna list out the influencers that are not even named in our piece in a tweet. I'm giving commentary on my article. You can read the article all you want. I don't know what to tell you. You guys seem. It's crazy to me. What is so crazy to me about all of this is that for whatever reason, this like random these random people like you, this Destiny person, it's like they are like.
What? No, where's the meme? Why the fuck did my name come up here?
They have all these issues with the article that like the 1630 Fund doesn't have any issues with it. Even the chorus lawyers like don't
I'm
have
not asking about
issues.
anybody else. I'm just reading.
But it's just, but I understand. And I do my best. I really try to be an open book, and I really do. Like I go out of my way to engage with people like you that have questions. But at a certain point,
I felt like I asked you good questions, and you got very evasive and frustrated with me.
I would completely disagree with that characterization. I do not think that you're coming in good faith. I think that you have a clear view of it.
I read that a lot. I looked into a lot of this stuff. I spent a lot of time on this. I didn't want to take it out of context.
I think you probably have gone down a lot of wild goose chases on something that's pretty straightforward.
Do you think?
Imagine if every interview with Taylor Lorenz actually looked like this, where there were people that, and by the way, Hodges is a random fucking YouTuber guy, right? I'm a random fucking YouTuber guy. We're not trained in any of this. Imagine if every interview with her was actually pressing on these issues like this. And this is like bare bones level pushing. We didn't even really, like, I don't even know if I would characterize this as a super tough, kind of tough. But she couldn't answer basic level questions because her article is generally just a giant fucking lie. It's a hit piece. It's a hit piece with a ton of lies in it. But somebody like this should not be able to survive the interview circuit. Like, she should never be able to show her face publicly on an interview circuit because she knows she's going to get fucking destroyed by the slightest bit of critical pushback on her article. But somehow people like this thrive in our current atmosphere. It's unacceptable. And our democracy cannot survive it. It can't.
Influencers that use this, do you think that like left-wing commentators that use this article to push a narrative that these creators were being paid to be quiet about Israel, do you think that they were being irresponsible?
I have said from the jump that Israel was never a qualification that we
found. Do you think that it was irresponsible of them to do that?
Well, as I just said, I'm answering you, and I'm sorry. I know you keep wanting me to say
she won't answer
a specific string of words, and I'm just answering you as
best as I can. I think it's a fair question because a lot of people that you're friendly with did push that narrative that they were being paid to be quiet about genocide, which I think is a really disgusting accusation.
What I would say is that if is that we don't know the ideological makeup, and I said this publicly since the article went up. We don't know the true ideological makeup of the entire cohort because
why'd you say they're primarily centrist?
Those are the people that we
remember right now. For her group of enemies, I don't know what they said. People were attacking him. I don't give a fuck. I don't know. Why the fuck should I give a fuck? It's not my responsibility. You want me to say a specific string of words? For the other article that Hutch mentioned, when you said these people were lightly criticizing the Biden administration, weren't they being really harsh on the Gaza? Actually, he was blacklisted in 2023, and I've actually read every single tweet that this ever put out. And actually, prior to 2023, the only criticism he ever made was a light criticism relating to green energy policy, and actually hadn't said anything about Gaza until 2024. The light part. It's like, okay, so you've memorized this person's entire fucking timeline. You can defend this person to the death.
We found, and as I have said from the beginning,
90 people.
Oh my God. Again, if the ideological makeup of this program is different, this is an argument for why they should be transparent. Because right now, the people that we found do share certain ideology. They do share certain belief systems. And if they're
2? 5? How many did you find? How many?
There's this secret group of leftists or further to the right people or other libertarians or who knows what that is also being funded by this program, then I think it would behoove them to publish the roster because but now...
until that comes out, Taylor, is it irresponsible for influencers to cast aspersions and just assume that
I think influencers should be arguing for transparency and say until
that's not what they're doing. So would it be irresponsible for them to just make these conclusions?
I think there's so much irresponsible stuff on TikTok, and I'm not going to litigate every single thing, but yes, of course they're being irresponsible. Of course there's people being irresponsible. However, that doesn't mean that I think that they're making baseless conclusions based on the very small amount of sort of view that they have into it. I'm sympathetic to the people that run the program. If they say, well, this is not representative, I would say this is an argument for transparency, right? If you have this whole other class of content creators that are part of your program that have radically different beliefs than the content creators that were made public, then why can they still not come forward? Why can they still not publish their contract? Why can they still not speak out? Why are you still not publishing?
You would have to ask them, but the merits of your reporting are your own, and you're accountable for the things that you say. And when you say, you look at a list of 90 people and they're primarily centrist, and then 2 seconds ago you say, we don't really know the ideological leanings.
First of all, the section of creators that we saw, they're pro-Democrat. They're pro, and I would call that centrist. Now there are also
really
just pro-Democrat.
Really?
Well. Establishment, they're pro-establishment Democrat. We're not talking about radicals. You're talking about the radical.
What does that mean?
What I mean is that the leftist anarchist people on TikTok don't seem to be part of this program. I haven't seen any of
leftist anarchists? It's not even on the liberal axis of politics. What the fuck are you talking about?
Those people a part of this program. I haven't seen those people connected to this program.
But not being radically left is not the same thing as being centrist, Taylor.
Right. I understand that, but I'm
You're
saying
conflating them.
Okay, what label to make you happy so I don't trigger you with the wrong word? What
something reasonable?
No, okay.
Wait. This is the stupidest fucking point of all time. That like the Democratic Party is a center left party, and we embrace that, right? This show's called Live and Learn.
Do you think Brian Tyler Cohen is a
wait, Hutch.
Yes, and I know it's because Pisco doesn't know anything about like politics, domestically or internationally. The Democratic Party is our left party. The Republican Party is our right party. I don't know why you would describe a political party as with an adjective, center left or two, or center right. Like, it's left and right. This is like you're floating towards a rock in space, and you're trying to draw the distinction on whether or not the rock is coming at you or you're drifting towards the rock. It doesn't. You have two parties. You have a left party and you have a right party. Why the fuck would you call them center left? The reason why is, especially because of the circles that this guy runs in, you call it center left because you're trying to disparage the Democratic Party. They're not. They don't stand for left-wing values. In Europe, Bernie Sanders would be a fucking Nazi in Europe. Bernie Sanders wouldn't even be considered center left in Europe. That's why they call it that. But would he call the Republican Party a center right party?
The Democratic Party is a center left party, and we embrace that, right? This show's called Live and Learn.
Do you think Brian Tyler Cohen is a
wait, Hutch. Democratic Party. Hutch, real quick. Hutch. The Democratic Party is a center left party. Is that correct?
Is Brian Tyler Cohen a centrist?
Wait, Hutch. Can you answer one question?
No.
Answer one question.
You answer mine.
Answer one question. Is the Democratic Party center left?
Answer mine. Is Brian Tyler Cohen a centrist?
All right. Hutch.
I'm center left. You're center left. We're
centrist. Question.
Okay.
Hutch, what is the right word?
Hutch. Wait. Answer the question. Hutch. Is the Democratic Party?
Hutch. Nobody on this show in the totality of American politics, nobody on this show is center left. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hutch.
You were using centrist as a pejorative, and you know that's what you were doing.
That's different, Hutch. Is the Democratic Party a center left party?
Yes, broadly, yes.
Okay, so if what is meant by centrist, right? It's the stupidest fucking point. If what is all is meant by centrist is you're aligned with the Democratic Party, then this is all analytical, right? By definition, being aligned with the Democratic Party on your own view.
When you think of the word centrist,
you would have to show in any given case that the use of centrist is more specific, and that you're trying to call out something, and maybe that is actually what Taylor is doing when she's using centrist. Stop. Wait.
Pisco is correct, but the Soy Pill already did this. He's just running defense for Taylor for whatever fucking reason. The Soy Pill already did this. He went through her Twitter account, and actually, Pisco could challenge Taylor here and go like, Taylor, have you ever used centrist in a way that wasn't like immediately demeaning or derogatory or pejorative towards some group of people? And if Taylor's like, yeah, look, a ton of times I say like, oh, these centrist guys made a lot of progress here. These centrist guys did a lot of good stuff here. These like, yeah. And then that would strongly support her argument. Now, Hutch could still argue it's fine that you don't use it as a pejorative, but in our online political climate, the one that you exist in, it seems to be understood as a pejorative. But he's not going to do that.
Wait. You can't be complaining about interruptions when you're interrupting everyone all over the place. All right. So in any given context, I think it's on you to just to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center left party. You can't be complaining about interruptions when you're interrupting everyone all over the place, all right? So in any given context, I think it's on you to just to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label.
That's the sorry. I don't even know what he means by saying that. I'm not even going to call that out. That's it. We use words to communicate with each other, okay? There's no such thing as private words that just mean things uniquely to us, or that you could interpret any piece of writing however you want, and it's up to you the entire time, especially when you're writing about anything. I'm not going to say especially. When you're writing about anything, okay? You're trying to convey meaningful ideas to people. Well, everything you write should be meaningful. It should have a meaning to the word. There's no world where, well, it's up to you to figure out what you think left means. It's up to you to figure out what you think right means. It's up to you to figure out. In political writings, what would be the point of reading or writing anything if it was always up to the reader to do their own personal interpretation of what they think a thing means? Like it's...
But the Democratic Party is a center-left party.
Lawyers have a perverted understanding of language literally. I super disagree with that. They should have an incredibly specific understanding of how language is used, because it'll show up over and over again in documents. Some people will say this thing where lawyers have a bad understanding of language. Wrong. Bad lawyers have a bad understanding of language. The exact same types of words are going to show up over and over and over again. It's true in contracts. It's true in legal writings and cases. You'll see the same words and phrases over and over and over again.
decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center-left party. You can't be complaining about interruptions and you're interrupting everyone all over the place, all right? So in any given context, I think it's on you to just to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center-left party.
They did determine the intent, though, and they gave arguments for it, and she didn't refute any of those.
Using the word centrist because the people that she was trying to appeal to with that article, and I think it's obvious who she was trying to appeal to, use that word in a disparaging way. Similarly to how they use the word liberal in a disparaging way. You know that Taylor uses.
Would you guys not describe liberal? Do you guys not describe liberal? Do you not describe yourself?
Well, liberal is appropriate. That's an appropriate label.
Okay, so
liberals are center left, correct?
So let's.
Like that's such a broad word. It depends on where you see it, right? Liberal technically encompasses. Well, I don't know if it does anymore for the right, but if we go back 10 years, liberal encompasses 95% of politics in the United States. We're a liberal country, right? Lowercase l, liberalism. The Republican Party was a liberal party. The Democratic Party is a liberal party. Now you can argue the Republican Party is some other fuck shit. But like, depending on the context you're in, like if I go to an online debate and somebody calls me a fucking liberal, well, if I'm arguing with a MAGA person, that's an insult. But they mean it to mean I'm part of the Democratic Party. That's all they mean when they say liberal. If I'm arguing with Hassan, they're using liberal as a slur to say that I'm Nazi, basically, a far-right person. Oh, you're a liberal. He's a right. He's not a part of the left. He's not a leftist thing like we are, like the socialists are. So that really depends.
Let's call them liberals. No, well, that will make you happy.
Well, you have progressive liberals too, right? I mean, I like when I look at Brian Tyler Cohen's his overall priorities and his
liberal. Is he liberal?
I would call him a progressive liberal. Very confidently.
A liberal. Great. Okay, we will use the word liberal, and that will make you happy.
Well, I wish you would have used that in the article instead of saying centrist, because you know that you were using that as a pejorative.
Honestly, you have to call up some copy editor and say that to them. But if she had wanted a correction, she could have gotten a correction. But my point is,
beside the point, though.
It is not beside the point. She could have actually, if that was such a radical mischaracterization of.
The onus is not on her to correct, especially when you're so well known for like signaling so much fucking harassment and everything else. The onus is not on the person being written about to go in and correct it. We're all not going to fight over every single lie that's published about us like you fight over keeping your age concealed on your fucking Wikipedia.
Her views. She could have reached out and gotten a correction. I would argue it's not a radical mischaracterization of her views.
Is it a false statement? Right? Is it a false statement to call her centrist? I think that's the question. Is it an accurate, Hutch? Is it an inaccurate statement in the article?
Yes, I think it is. Yes.
Because to call Olivia Juliana centrist.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether or not it's accurate. What matters is it is clear.
Both parts matter. The accuracy and the intent are both important here. And you can be wrong on one or the other, but like for instance, she could have just been inaccurate, and she could have said she's a democratic socialist, and she's actually she would say, I'm not a democratic socialist, I'm like a progressive liberal, I would say, right? And then you could say, oh, well, she was wrong, the fact was wrong, but the intent was she was trying her best to get it right. She wasn't trying to demean her or anything, right? Or she could be right about the fact and still trying to demean her in the language. She is a centrist, right? And maybe she does consider herself a centrist, right? But she's saying that to demean her, to call her out on it, right? But that's fine. She could be mean and accurate at the same time. But arguably, the worst combination of things is she could be inaccurate and mean. That's even worse than just fucking up and being inaccurate, because you're labeling somebody something for the purposes of not perjuring them, of using a pejorative against them, of attacking them, of demeaning them. You're trying to attack them with a word, and it's not even accurate. That's like the worst of all worlds. So this fixation on just the factual accuracy is not enough. You should focus on the accuracy and the intent behind using the word.
Why can't accuracy absolutely like no, what is so hard about doing
please listen to me for real quick, because you keep doing this. It's not about the accuracy of whether or not this person is a centrist. If everyone in a certain ideological camp calls these people centrist, it is clear that this is coming from a specific ideological perspective and not just this is objective reporting.
I just don't think that the Wired articles,
is it relevant?
The Wired editors are like out to get someone. We're literally just trying to describe. I will use the word liberal. I will use the word liberal, and when I write about these people again, I will use the word liberal. I can promise you that.
Well, I think you were.
I'd like to respond to Soy Pill. Yeah. It's the potted plant's turn to talk. All right. So real quick on your on your point, Soy Pill, you say, well, in certain circles, this term can mean something else. I'm totally open to us having that discussion, but I think it's relevant to discuss whether the article is accurate first. That's a relevant thing to consider first.
And then we can say, okay, some people might accurately describe her as a centrist, depending on your ideological point of view, and we can use this to frame what kind of ideology.
To the extent that it's accurate, to the extent that it's accurate, it's trivial to observe that most content creators are centrist, because if all you mean by centrist is democratic aligned, then of course is going to be
right. And then you can use that to say, well, who is calling all pro-Democrats centrist, and what kind of ideology is that?
most Democrats are liberals, are they not? Are they not liberal? Is the Democrat not the liberal party, guys?
Liberal.
She's not even. It's just meaningless drivel. It's so cringe.
We're not talking about the term liberal.
And it's pathetic. It's pathetic, honestly.
But you said, but we're talking. Okay, centrist.
You use that term. You use that term. It wasn't your editor in your tweet. You use that term.
Sure, I use the term centrist all the time. I use the term centrist all the time.
In
but I'm saying
in a pejorative way. Anyone can search your Twitter feed and see when you use the word
You could also say I use the term and you can search my Twitter feed for the term leftist. See what I have to say about the term leftist on my Twitter feed, and see if I'm being really nice about it.
I will after this. I will. I'm
please go do it right away. You'll see why.
I think you use that language for a particular.
I would be curious how she uses it in articles. It wouldn't surprise me if she uses leftist when she's referring to people that she's mad at, but I wonder if she's using leftist in a pejorative way, or if she's just saying, this person is a leftist, but they have a right-wing view on AI tech regulation or some bullshit or whatever. I'm curious. Somebody look it up.
Particular reason.
No, I use language. I am criticizing different different factions constantly, and you'll see. Please search the word leftist and see what I have to say about the leftists. Please search this word.
In this story, you're establishing a cast of heroes and villains. That's what you're doing. Oh my God.
Okay, literally, yep. I'm sorry. I know you think that I have this like...
Literally?
This is like, I feel, it does remind me of the Tim Pool universe in a sense, because I have to say, like, it's like this like niche obsession with...
Yes, because the case does nothing to affect the business models of these companies, but it sets a legal precedent for mass surveillance, something you should be against if you're a leftist. What can I say? I know everything that is inside of her head. Wait, well, let me read more. We're never getting a leftist revolution when people like you side with the Nazis on eradicating. You are not a leftist. See, she's gatekeeping and protecting the term. What did I say right before this? What did I say? She is criticizing people who are leftists, but she's not using leftist as a pejorative. She's criticizing them for not having the correct position, even though they call themselves a leftist. She's protecting the term because that's what she either identifies with or considers herself friendly to. How dare Taylor Lorenz stand with immigrants, LGBT groups, reproductive justice advocates, marginalized people, and everyone who will be harmed by the mass surveillance / censorship laws the social media addiction trials usher in. I am a serious leftist. I stand with the Heritage Foundation, making fun of a leftist who's not on the right positions. Cuba does not have sterilizing vaccines, and vaccines don't make COVID harmless. This COVID shit, she's fucking brain broken on. When some MAGA events have better airborne disease prevention than leftist aid convoys, that should make you look in the mirror and consider how badly you lost the plot. Again, so she's attacking people here who she feels like aren't adhering to the standards that she believes that leftists should be. This is not the same type of way of using the term leftist as she was for like centrists. Look at these fucking centrists. Look at what they're doing.
It's like you're secretly our enemy, and you're secretly our enemy.
I don't think you're secret about it. I don't think you're secret.
No, you say
I think you have open. Yeah, you have open sort of hostility towards.
Crazy, but so do the Republicans.
I don't know. I think you've displayed in the past like open hostility towards like people that you consider to be like the establishment or centrist or pro-Israel. But then when I press you on like what these terms mean, you don't really have like great answers.
Leftists, and look at what I have to say about the right, and look at what I have to say about like literally look at all my political. Like I know that you don't want to engage with other stuff, and I know you feel that you're sort of. I've been very critical about your ideology, but if you think that's because
I'm not offended by that. I don't care about. I'm talking about your.
But you clearly think that because I'm critical of your ideology, that then I sort of ascribe to this other ideology that you really don't like.
I don't know if this is about ideology. I have no idea. I really no, but I don't know. I don't know what motivates you, but I do know that in the context of this article,
we'll never know what motivates her because she doesn't report her funding sources. By the way.
You were establishing like a cast of villains, and in this case, you had like these pro-Israel centrists.
It doesn't say anything about Israel in our article. They're just pro. They are pro.
You added that commentary after the fact, and then other creators used your commentary to push a narrative about them being paid to cover for genocide.
Well, the Democratic Party, I would argue, has run cover for a genocide. Isn't that kind of why they lost part of it?
That's a separate thing. They're smearing the entire operation as being about like covering for genocide. This includes people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pakman and Olivia Giuliana. Well, like they were.
Those first two people? I'm just saying. Look at that. Look at her face. Look at her face when you led with those two people.
Like covering for genocide. This includes people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pakman and Olivia Giuliana. Well, like they were, Hassan himself has made this claim. Like
Hassan was not even remotely part of this program.
Whoa, hold up. Are you besmirching my dog electrocutor boyfriend? Excuse me.
But you mentioned him. You mentioned him in this article. You mentioned him in the old article. You mentioned him in this tweet.
The fucking Joe Rogan of the left or whatever.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
No, but you're presenting the virtuous alternative to the corrupt Democratic shills. That's what you're doing in this whole thing.
I don't think Hassan is taking dark money.
But
so you're agreeing with Hutch. You're agreeing with him. Also, Hassan does do gaming sponsorships, and he has gotten paid by other countries and taken payments to do stuff. I think he mentioned openly for the Cuba stuff. I know he did for the China stuff, even if he refuses it. 100 billion%. Didn't he get paid to go do a speech thing in, was it Dubai? So, I mean, we don't know how much he got paid for that, right? Or is it Qatar? I don't remember. Qatar.
But are you rejecting that's what you're doing? Like, that is what you're doing, right? Like, you're saying you have these like radical leftists and they're pure and they're not corrupt. And then you have the corrupt pro-DNC, pro-Israel shills, right?
Please search my Twitter feed and see what I've said about the leftists. I feel like I'm losing my mind.
I did search it, Taylor, and you have been shitting on him quite a bit.
I constantly criticize people all over the place.
I don't think Soipa will understand the distinction here. It is a very fine one, but like there is a huge difference, right? I don't necessarily blame maybe the Soipa for not getting this, but there is a distinction, but it's important, but it can be hard to.
Political ideology. I very intentionally don't identify with one political faction over the other or whatever. And again, I know that pisses everybody off in that political faction. But what I'm saying is that if you think that this is some bad faith like article that's meant to like valorize the left and like criticize that's just not what the article says.
Is this a Taylor Lorenz article? In 2025, the UK censorship catastrophe is just the beginning. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are completely aligned on ramming age verification through Congress and removing all free speech and the right to anonymity on the web. Leftists have completely dropped the ball, and there is no meaningful political opposition to these efforts in the U.S. from either party. So, why wouldn't you say conservatives have dropped the ball? Or the far right has dropped the ball? Or like she's protecting the term when she brings it up.
Says, and I understand that my
commentary the article did say that they're not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
Yes,
how do you
that's
explain
true.
that? No, it's not though. It's not. We know that's not true.
Wait, sorry, they aren't allowed.
Why is it untrue? Wait.
Why do you think?
It's described in the
Steelman. Why do you think I'm saying that piece?
So I understand. Listen, I have my issues. I want to bring up my issues with.
Why do you think I'm saying that?
Wait, hang on. I will definitely address that. I will definitely address that. I will definitely address that. Hutch. I will definitely address. So I want to be clear. I have my own problems with the article. It has to do actually with contractual language in the title. But I mean, at this point, it's been done to death.
I didn't write the title. I didn't write the title.
Sure.
Don't come for me.
The contractual, the article. Are you asking me or asking Taylor?
I'm asking Taylor. Is the subheading wrong then?
But okay, but you can ask her.
That's so important. That's so important. The subheading.
It's not actually wrong.
Well, you just said you didn't write it. So
yeah.
Why defend it?
Journalists don't write their titles.
But you have influence on the byline on the subheading, right? You can't request. Did you request to change the subheading? Wait, hang on.
No, it's factually correct. Why would I do that?
Hang on.
You absolutely, as I know for a fact, that you can suggest a title, you can suggest secondary titles. I think that this is going to be one of the areas, just from the little I know, but Taylor lies about everything. This is going to be one of the areas where the people above you, your master, your whatever editors, all these people will have more push than not, where they could say like, I'm sorry, but like, we're going with this title, okay? Or we're going with this secondary, like subtitle, whatever. Like, that's probably true. That's probably the most, this is probably the area where they'll have the most input, and Taylor might not have had much, but she still defends the title, so what does it matter?
Journalists can't request that a subheading is changed?
I would never do that unless it was factually wrong. It's not factually.
Okay, then you own it.
Wrong.
This is absolutely factually wrong, though. I mean, like in your subheading, you say that online influencers were paid up to $8,000 a month to push the party line.
Yeah, but that's how the decks. Sorry, the decks in the marketing decks describe their scores.
The marketing decks. We're talking about a realistic claim.
Right, we're talking about
you're saying that they were getting paid $8,000 to push the party line, and there's no deliverables.
The whole point of the program was to fix the Democratic Party's messaging problem. That's the whole point of the program.
But you're saying paid X to do Y. That's a consideration for some sort of thing in the other end of it. And I did have a criticism about that, but I wanted to address what was just said about the characterization regarding the disclosure. The article states that the language of the contract forbids disclosure, and I don't have any reason to believe that's untrue.
Yeah, there were at what particular quote are you pointing to here? Do you have the quote in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's characterizing
the contract viewed by
yes.
Wired that creators signed. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or.
But wasn't there an issue where? Fuck, I don't remember. I don't remember this good news in politics. Oh, please let me see this. Why can't I go there? This might not have had Chorus listed in it. I don't remember if it did or not. And there's no fast forward. Okay. When are you going to disclose the dark money funding? Ooh. Her using liberal centrist as a slur to defend Hassan.
Unsubstantiated claims as part of an effort to smear one of the most vocal leftists online is deeply disturbing. But that's what these centrist liberal influencers do, and that's why they're so dangerous. Just as with the original Gamergate over a decade.
For the 1630 fund, but that's not true.
Are you disputing the accuracy of that? And
yes,
why is it? Why do you think it's untrue?
Because there's two different things going on here. There's the qualifier, like according to the contract, but then she's making a claim. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship
under the contract.
with Chorus.
Yes, under the contract. Under the contract. That's all.
Well,
under
no,
the contract.
but I think the qualifier
that's
is
very clearly no. That's very clearly what it's talking about is what's allowed under the contract.
What particular quote are you pointing?
Wait.
Yeah, there were at what particular quote are you pointing to here? Do you have the quote in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's characterizing the
contract viewed by
yes.
Wired that creators signed. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, but that's not true.
Are you disputing the accuracy of that? And why is it? Why do you think it's untrue?
Because there's two different things going on here. There's the qualifier, like according to the contract, but then she's making a claim. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship
under the contract.
with Chorus.
Yes, under the contract. Under the contract. That's all. Under the contract.
But I think the qualifier is
very clearly that's very clearly what it's talking about is what's allowed under the contract. Do you have any basis to believe that's untrue?
But why wouldn't you verify that was being enforced?
Wait.
That's why they came to talk to us. That's why we have the article.
But Taylor,
so they're probably in breach. Hutch. The answer is they're probably in breach. The answer is they're probably in breach.
I don't know what is in their contract versus what they enforce.
But the question, Hutch, the question stands. Do you have a basis? Hutch, the question stands. Do you have a basis to believe that that's untrue? Yes or no?
The framing of this, I find.
Do you have a basis to believe the statement is untrue?
The framing is dishonest. Do you even disagree with me?
Is the statement true or not? No, I think the other part of the contract.
I am curious what other. Fuck, I don't know if I'm mind fucking myself or not. This language is not great, but maybe it's normal and I'm just loading this negatively because so much of this is like shitty. Like when I hear according to, that to me conveys the feeling of interpretation, right? According to Steven, he said that Yo Mama's a bitch. But according to Dave, he said Yo Mama is bussin', all right? According to sounds a bit different than like a factual statement of, right? I think that like according to Wired's legal team who reviewed the contracts maybe, or an interpretation from Wired's legal team, otherwise you would just say copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed stated that the influencers aren't allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus. I don't know why you would put according to. I feel like that's a weird phrase to put in there, but I'm trying to think if I've ever read that. Yeah, you would just say like the contract states or the contract stipulates. That's a weird, because there's no interpretation there. It just says it. It's yes. That's a yes or no. Yes or no is what I would feel. But.
I do, but it's kind of like in poor taste, kind of like lame to just have a pile on. And I have a different problem with the contractual language having to do with funnel through, and that's been done to death. And I can't even get my point heard on that. But I
don't even know if they kind of did it earlier, but no.
I want to ask you, Hutch, do you have a basis to believe that statement in the article is true? Yes or no?
No, not as it's framed. No.
You think that they were allowed to
so you either have a basis to believe it's false or you don't.
No. Hang on. You're not saying, like, you're doing the slippery thing, Taylor.
Just to be clear, the actual answer here, I don't know if Pisco would even accept this. Maybe Hutch will get to this. That is a this is a bombshell claim that needs bombshell evidence. Like, in my mind, this is almost enough that I would sink the whole program and maybe people who were responsible for starting it. If you're telling me, unless you can point to me that it's like it's an industry standard or something like that, it would have to be that. You're telling me that Brian Tyler Cohen and his friend or whatever created a program that recruited influencers, and by the language of the contract, they were not only not allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus or that this was an incubator program by the 1630 Fund, they couldn't even disclose that they were being paid anything at all. For what work? For what were they doing? What were they a part of? That's a bombshell claim. It's crazy in my mind to have a claim like this, especially with somebody with as little credibility as Taylor Lorenz, to have a claim this monumental and have nothing supporting it. You don't have any enforcement actions. It's a question that Hutch was asking a lot earlier, which is a really good question. Because that's usually, when you're looking at like contract fuck-ups, that's usually where you're going to find out like how fucked is this. Like at least in all the gaming contracts and shit, right? Like this contract had this crazy stipulation. We found that like, 7 creators had this enforcement mechanism when they tried to step outside the bounds of this, when they tried to do this, right? When they tried to do that, they got called in and they got in trouble or whatever. But this has never even been enforced before. It seems to me like it's more likely that your reading is just incorrect than there's this crazy stipulation of the contract that nobody ever acted on.
There's 2 different things going on here, right? So like, were they allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund? The 1630 Fund, that is the separate fiscal sponsor. I understand that that's like a separate, like, obviously
no, they were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund.
Right. So
she's being a lying piece of shit there. I don't know how deep Hutch got into this, but my understanding is the 1630 Fund does not pay Chorus at all. They work as a financial sponsor that allows people to donate to the 1630 Fund and then earmark it for Chorus. So kind of similar-ish to maybe like how Act Blue or something would work. Like basically, the 1630 Fund could accept money on behalf of Chorus and then pass it on to Chorus, but the 1630 Fund was not funding Chorus. They were not directly contributing money to Chorus of like their own independent funds. She's very, very careful in the way she phrases that here.
I understand that that's like a separate, like, obviously
no, they were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund.
They were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund that were donated to the 1630 Fund for Chorus and earmarked for Chorus like that.
Right. So that's where they were the fiscal sponsor. So they did a lot of like administrative stuff. They got right. So that's where they were the fiscal sponsor. So they did a lot of like administrative stuff. They got
I don't believe they were funded by it. I don't believe the 1630 Fund is established in that way. When I looked up what they were, it says it's an incubator program. They do the administrative work and the overhead and like the money dealing. So like they can accept money on behalf of and then pass it through to them. And they've got the structure and everything set up for that. I don't even know if Taylor even knows what the fuck any of this shit is. Or if she's too busy, running around with a dirty mask on, screaming at people in public or whatever, and claiming she's being assaulted because somebody, touched her cell phone. And I don't know if Pisco has any clue how any of these organizations work either, but
just to believe that language in the article is untrue.
No, so that's one.
Do you have the basis to believe that it's untrue or not?
Because it's true.
Question. So we do know that in the contract that they were not allowed to disclose that they had like a relationship with 1630. Or
so so the answer is it's a true statement in the article.
Pisco, this sentence right here. Tell me if you think this is true. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
The paid yeah, exactly.
No, not the paid relationship. No.
Yes.
Wait, hold on.
Are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
The paid yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty big claim. And there was no proof of this presented in her slop article. And no one has come out publicly and affirmed this. And plenty of other content creators came out and said otherwise. So I don't know how I'm supposed to believe this.
No, not the paid relationship. No,
yes, their relationship was the relationship was.
Say that. You
the relation. It literally says the relation. Did you or functionally that they're paid at all? Did you read? Can you read that sentence again?
I can read it right now. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. There's like three different.
The object there is relationship.
Exactly, Pisco.
The first one is Chorus, right? So like you're saying that they were not allowed to disclose the relationship with Chorus.
But the relationship, the object with is the indirect object, or it's describing what's the thing that can't be disclosed.
No, Pisco says the relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund. That's what it says.
Yeah, those relationships. There? Is that a reasonable reading of it?
But we know, and I'm curious if when you were doing your reporting, Taylor, like, were you aware that creators had been open, that they were a part of Chorus before you wrote the article?
That was my understanding, yeah.
You can see that we actually link to Ken Bensinger's New York Times article, I believe, or reference it in the piece. I literally talked about that multiple times. It's Chorus, the Chorus itself, like the sort of broader entity that Brian Tyler Cohen started was the subject of a New York Times article that was very public. So obviously I know that Chorus was public because I've also written about Chorus before. So
then I don't know how to make sense of the sentence. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or
their relationship with Chorus. Exactly. They couldn't disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund or functionally that they were paid at all.
They did though. Many had discussed their relationship.
That's not what but the article described what the contract allows.
Guys,
guys, what?
Let me step in here. We got 10 minutes left, and I gotta say two things. And Guy's been incredibly quiet, and I think we can pivot this last.
No, why would you interrupt that point? Oh my God, he bailed her out.
Into something that Guy will really want to talk about. So first thing is, Taylor, I don't think Hutch is like a white nationalist, because I think you would take grievance with me saying Joe Biden is a progressive, right? Because even if I could describe every most progressive thing that Joe Biden did, it's very clear that where
can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I know you guys aren't going to believe me on this. There are ways, I talk to people in the Biden world that do argue that Biden was a very progressive president. Biden was a very progressive president in a lot of ways. I actually do think that could be fair to describe him in that way in certain context. Like if I was reading an article and it described him that way in the context of some of the policies that he pushed that were progressive, I would not take issue with that. And I know, like I said before,
but Taylor, in your video, someone should do it. Like Joe Biden's like the great Satan for like his COVID policies, right? Like you really just like, but he's
I would not call him Satan, but I would say that he adopted far-right policies,
genocidal policies on disabled people,
on certain, and I would say Israel and
genocidal.
Yeah.
Well, on Israel and some other things. Sure.
Okay,
sure.
wait, hold on. I was trying not to fight anymore because I know you've.
No, sure.
Also, not to defend or attack. Are we considering genocide as like a far right? Does it have to be? Really? I don't know. That sounds retarded to me, but whatever. I guess it could be, but I don't know.
I don't fuck with Joe Biden at all. I think I did not like him as president. Do I think he's better than Trump? Yes. Well, but listen, no. But if I was writing an article, for instance. And we're not talking about my YouTube videos or Twitter if I want to pop off and say whatever I want about Joe Biden. But if I'm writing an article and I'm seeking to be factually accurate, and I call someone a liberal or a centrist or progressive, whatever, and that goes through all these other editors, by the way, often who add, sort of their own whatever. We're trying our best.
I've never heard this before. That this was a group article. This was a group project, a group effort. That every single person that got their grimy little hands on your article threw in their own opinion or sentence. I don't believe that. That's a fucking lie. She's lying about that. Which should tell you something, by the way, about the the veracity of the reporting in the article, that she doesn't stand by it because she knows it's fucking slop, junk, trash. But now she can just say that whatever sentence is trash, she can just pawn off onto some unknown question mark faced editor or whatever.
I want about Joe Biden. But if I'm writing an article and I'm seeking to be factually accurate, and I call someone a liberal or a centrist or progressive, whatever, and that goes through all these other editors, by the way, often who add, sort of their own whatever. We're trying our best to get things accurate. I'm not going to put like genocidal Joe Biden or whatever in an article that is like a fact-checked investigative article. I wouldn't. I would be like Joe Biden, who has. We're trying our best to get things accurate. I'm not going to put like genocidal Joe Biden or whatever in an article that is like a fact-checked investigative article. I wouldn't. I would be like Joe Biden, who has executed XYZ policies or whatever. And with me characterizing Olivia Giuliana as a centrist who spoke at the DNC, Hutch, I know you think that.
Do you see how fucking brain broken she is on this? Like. You just said that you wouldn't put an opinionated thing about Joe Biden. You would just describe the policies. But now you're defending the label of centrist without talking about her positions. You're doing the exact opposite in your two examples, saying it's the same thing.
And with me characterizing Olivia Giuliana as a centrist who spoke at the DNC.
Characterizing implies kind of opinion.
Hutch, I know you think that that's supposed to be some like neg on her or something.
It is.
Clearly, I should have used the term liberal who spoke at the DNC, and maybe that would have triggered you less.
This is abuse, psychological abusive tactics here. That's good. Why did you do this to me? This was so rude or disrespectful. Clearly, I should have done something because you're a fucking snowflake, right?
But it's not. And I'm not saying that I haven't been critical of centrists. What I'm saying is like, I think that's a very silly point to like take with this article, because I think it's not only is it completely irrelevant to the broader topic of the article, but it's like, I think that you're ascribing a lot of motivation to what is ultimately like a pretty meaningless descriptor that I don't even think is very.
I don't think it was meaningless. I think you were telling a larger narrative. Yep. I don't think it was primarily about.
But she's always going to fight the larger narrative. You'll never ever get her to admit any of that, of course.
Disclosure. I think it was about anti-establishment, and then
the people working at Wired, I guess, are two fucking brain in a vat, retarded dipshits to have any understanding of. Dude, I hate politics today. It's all online shit, and none of the mainstream media people have any concept of how demons like this fucking operate in this world. It's so fucking annoying to me.
It's like,
well, they are pro-establishment. We're
gonna go in circles, Guy.
Wow,
You've said this before, and Taylor, I think you might have a very strong opinion on this. there is so much dark money coming in from the right, like unfathomably. 1630 was the answer.
Read my other Wired article that came out on Friday.
By the way, we'll plug this at the end. Your other
Hutch is going to take issue with that. You're gonna be like the.
We'll have you back on in another argument. But
we're not anti-AI. We just want to help the AI into. We're not pro AI. We're just backed by Palantir and OpenAI. We're not pro AI.
Who's this?
Listen.
I don't even. That's not even what our article's about. I wonder if maybe she didn't actually write it.
Let me finish. Guy, you've said we need to use dark money to fight dark money. All bets are off at this point. Why not fight fire with fire? What's your take on that, essentially? And then Taylor, I want you to respond to like Guy's kind of like overall broad point of fight fire with fire.
Well, we're just getting our ass kicked over on the left with the flooding of dark money. We found out Clavicular is funded by people.
It seems like she has no interest in approaching this conversation cooperatively to find answers together. What? No shit. Yeah, of course.
That's not true. Peter doesn't like Clavicular. I don't know where that came from. You know he's funded by an Israeli billionaire right now.
Okay.
Oh my fucking god, bro.
Let me ask you a question, Taylor. Because
what's up?
That's pretty much the gist of it. It doesn't really go much. Kind of stalls out there.
Yeah,
but
she's one of the best, most slippery, bad faith. She's foreign funded, 1 trillion. I would bet my whole life that her funding, her ops, she's got a whole ass thing. She's the most psychologically manipulative, abusive person I've talked to in my entire career. And I've talked to a lot of crazy people, but she's so good at being so slippery. I hate it.
Well, I mean, thankfully I did an absolute fuckload of prep for this conversation. So I was kind of like nothing really took me off guard during this conversation, but at the end point there, I just feel like, how do you justify writing the language, according to the contract, creators weren't allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus, but why would you put that in an article if people had already come out to disclose their relationship with Chorus?
Or you would account for it in the story, right? You might say in previous versions, it seems like this was unenforced, or in current versions, it seems like this is new. Yeah, you would have to account for that in some way, right? Like if I were to write an article right now saying, according to the RNC, Donald Trump is banned from making all public appearances, and he just gave a speech yesterday, I would have to account for that fact. That seems really weird.
It's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Yeah. Also, I don't know, and I might be biased because I hate this woman with all my heart and soul and mind and spirit, but according to is a really weird, I feel like you would just write, the contract stipulates, or the contract states, according to makes it sound interpretive. And the fact that there's literally no language from the contract, I think there's 7 words or 5 words in a single sentence in this entire article. I don't know why they didn't print any part of it ever, but
it's a moot point entirely because people had already disclosed. And so it just doesn't make it really makes it's just to me it read as dishonest. I don't know how this passed editorial muster. The more I looked into the story, it was just crazy. The language about being able to take stuff down or having to funnel everything, this was clearly not being enforced in the way that the article suggested. That was debunked thoroughly within 2 days of the article going up. Just several creators came out. And you've been in the game for a long time, so creators are pretty fucking stupid, right? On average.
Yeah.
And they violate contract stuff all the fucking time. It's a real problem, and it's even more of a problem more often with the bigger creators because they have everybody doing the stuff in the background and they don't really prep them well enough. And so if you put yourself in the mind of a 501c4 that is trying to protect your nonprofit status, of course you would have a clause in the contract to be able to take stuff down. Because
I wish I could remember specifically, but I feel like there are some things that I've worked on before that were politically oriented, where I feel like I've seen that boilerplate language before. And the reason is because of exactly what you're saying. It can't look like a funnel. You can't, if you have 10 Chorus creators and they go to work with some candidate and then you find out afterwards, imagine somebody pulls up the FEC filings, because that's all public, we know, because Hasan doxed every single person that was with Progressive Victory when he was doing a stream. I think you might have even been included in that. We know that it's all public, the filings for that. And somebody finds out that, 10 of these creators that all did this event with Bernie Sanders all donated $2,000 afterwards. I wonder what they were paid by Chorus to do that. Well, that looks really bad. That's probable cause for a fucking investigation for finding out if you're using your C4 to funnel money illegally to evade campaign contribution limits. That's such a standard. And it's funny because I don't know if you're watching when I was reading this. The quote that she got from a professor was talking about exactly that. When she's quoting this professor, she says, sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits. Right? That's why that language would exist in the C4's contract, to make sure that you're not taking money from Chorus and just throwing it into a political campaign. Yeah.
It would be completely untenable to not have that kind of a provision. Because if you imagine what if a creator uploaded a video and they're interviewing Mamdani, and they open the video with like, "What's up, guys? I'm hanging out here with with Chorus, and I'm talking to Mamdani or whatever." Like just that one little like, I'm here with Chorus or whatever. That could be something that would like qualify as like an in-kind like campaign contribution, or there's all kinds of like. There's all kinds of like potential implications. And let's say they didn't have that clause in the contract where they could take stuff down. And Chorus went to the creator, was like, "What the fuck? You got to take that down. You said the thing." And the creator said, and then the creator just says, "No, I'm not going to take it down." Like then you're just fucked. And so like it's just pretty obvious.
I don't watch much TV.
Compliance.
Yeah, 100%. I don't watch much TV, but I think even in super PAC commercials, don't they usually have at the end, like, sometimes you'll see like this ad was paid for by Ted Cruz for America. I think at the end of super PAC commercials, I don't know if they legally have to have this language, but I think they usually have like the, not paid for by any campaign, blah, 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 or whatever, or only sponsored by whatever. Yeah, like, because people are trying to cover their bases on that, yeah. And like, even if that's not the case, like, why wouldn't you lean into that first, or at least assume that, rather than, because my big issue with this contract is, I'm sure you've been in gaming for how long, you've signed so many contracts. Some of the claims she makes about the contract, like restrictions, are bombastic. These are huge claims that, in my opinion, would require some pretty strong evidence, because some of these sound really oppressive. You have to funnel every single political booking through Chorus. That's crazy restrictive, right?
Well, that's why I asked her, like, did you find any example of this actually being enforced? And her answer was no, which, like, that to me is crazy, because it's like, I just feel like she'd fucking knowingly, I don't want to make any bold claims here. Like,
she knowingly lied about all of this, 100%. This article is slop bullshit. I'm surprised Wired pushed this slop out onto their platform. I can't imagine why. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's mind-blowing. Like, if you're going to reference something that's in the contract, that's not enough as a journalist, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you wouldn't just report on something as a contract without verifying that it's enforced, because anybody who's signed a bunch of contracts knows that, like, a lot of that stuff is in there, but it just doesn't get enforced. And so, like, without verifying that it actually happened, and I just felt she was being so slippery too, because I was like, you heard me ask her, like, can you think of a single time? And she said, yes, people got afraid when they saw the contract.
There was a person who didn't sign up with Chorus, who was scared of the language. It's like, okay. And you know what? If that's what you found, that's fine. But then your reporting should reflect that. There was a content creator who didn't sign up with Chorus because in their impression, they might not be allowed to do blah, 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 right? Fine, put that. But don't act like you've had some fucking legal team vet this.
Right. I spent a bit of time watching her kind of go on the circuit, like the podcast circuit, when she was talking about this article. And depending on the venue, her tone was very different. So like she went on the current affairs one, they're like explicitly, pretty socialist. And it was all about like manufacturing consent, about, they deliberately picked creators that weren't talking about the genocide.
Yeah.
And then she went on a more kind of like, her conversation with Pisco was like very different. Even the conversation with you, she was framing it like, she was framing it about like, it was an article about disclosure. But then when you go to her video on her page, like on her YouTube page, when she's talking about the article when it first dropped, it's all about the, big bad establishment paying corporate or paying DNC shills and suppressing leftists. And she had the same tone. And so like, that's why I asked the question in the beginning, like, what do you think this article was about? And as soon as she said disclosure, I was like, okay, I'm going to fucking nail her on this one right now.
Yeah. And also for like, on background, right? When you're writing like legal briefs, or when a judge is commenting on something, when you like sometimes you'll have like a facts of the case, right? Like this is not random. I think you brought this up, and it wasn't addressed, but it was a good point, right? For years, Democrats have struggled to work with influencers. In 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban, right? Like, content creators who challenged Kamala Harris, including Hassan Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcome at campaign events. And yeah, like you said, like the implication being, well, now the Democrats found a way around this to pay people who don't challenge them on these points. That's exactly. And this is at the head of this is like at the beginning of the article before they even get into it. So yeah, 100% that's the impression that you're supposed to be left with. Yeah.
But also the words lightly and challenged are doing a lot of heavy lifting.
They always are in these, yeah, for her.
Like Hassan was not just challenging Kamala. He was accusing her of being complicit in a genocide.
Yes.
Lightly criticizing. And then I go to their page and it's like, Joe Biden has killed every fucking Palestinian. Like, it's just like really, whatever, whether or not you want to talk, like debate if that's true, it's completely besides the point. It was not a light criticism, like at any of the examples that she gave.
And there were other creators too, with like the non-committed movement. I think at the DNC, they even spent inside the DNC, which was there to protest the DNC. So, and then he got kicked out of the DNC. So it's it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that interview. I
playing
I
stupid over
wild.
like what is a centrist? Anybody that's a centrist Democrat is anybody who supports a Democrat. Like, and she very clearly like knows when she's using centrist, she uses it as a pejorative. I don't know if you saw me go through her Twitter. When she uses leftist and she's attacking leftists, she's attacking people who aren't like living up to her ideals of being a leftist. She's never saying like, you're a dirty leftist. She's saying like, you're so dirty. You're supposed to be a leftist, right? There's a huge difference between the utilization of the terms there. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to press her on that because I got interrupted.
Yeah, and she would never own any of that, of course, because it's too, hard to,
No, but I'm about to say what she literally called herself a leftist when she was on the podcast on Doomscroll.
Oh.
There's a part where she kind of loosely references herself as a part of the left, and when they say the left, they mean like socialist, right?
Capital
like,
L left, socialist and communist, not anti-liberals. Yes, yeah, 100%.
Right, and man, she is slippery, but fuck, I was so prepared for that conversation. I'm so glad I did all that homework too.
I guess, yeah, but it feels like they don't even engage with any of it. So what the fuck is the point? I don't know if you caught this in your reading, but like my understanding is, and the structures of all these things are annoying as fuck. The 1630 fund, I don't believe they actually fund anything. I think they just stand up all the administrative and payment acceptance infrastructure. So like when it says 1630 is like funding Chorus, what that means is that if I want to donate to Chorus, I donate through the 1630 fund, and then it's earmarked for Chorus. Yeah. So
correct.
Yeah. The 1630 is not like this secret dark money fund that's, funneling all this money over to Chorus. They just basically process payments,
Well, so they structure it that way so that the donors can remain anonymous. And sure. One of the appeals of dark money is, donors can, use that structure to avoid scrutiny. And it's not great. Like I don't think it's a great system, but it is the system, and Republicans use that system. And the fact is like more donors will donate more money using that kind of structure. And so, they have 1630 as the fiscal sponsors so that the donors can donate anonymously. And then the 1630 funnels that down to the Chorus program.
100%. I hate the reporting standards in all online media journalistic stuff today. I don't think you should be able to take money for an idea. I think like if you're not like promoting a fucking product or whatever, I don't even know if you should, or if you do, you should have to like disclose the organization is coming from and how much you're paid. I think that's crazy. But like Taylor Lorenz only seems like she fixates on one side of it, number one. And number two, she's making false claims about what the restrictive contracts even are, it seems. And then number three, this motherfucker takes dark money too, okay? The Omidyar shit and all that, as much as you want to call anything dark money, we have no idea. Technically, we don't know how much she was paid. Actually, we do for Omidyar the first year because we know that it was right underneath the required reporting thing, or it might have been right above, I don't remember. But we also don't know, what they told her. We don't know what her training was. We don't know what they're directing them to report or what the selection criteria was technically. There's no public requirement to release that information. And we don't know what other types of programs like that she's involved in because there's no requirement for any of them to report it, which is annoying because she never mentions that, and she always defends her take on it by alluding to the fact that she's a journalist who's held to ethical standards. There are no ethical standards for journalism. Journalism is not a protected title in the United States. Your ethical standards are whatever your corporate policy is for the company that you work for or whoever you're writing for as a freelancer. There's no journalistic integrity standards.
Well, so the thing with Pierre Omidyar, he's just like eBay founder who's just got $1 bajillion or whatever. And what's different about him is that he is very transparent, like uncharacteristically for donors. And so, for example, when he donated to 1630 in 2020, and I had a whole line about this, but I didn't want to, we just ran out of time. But like there were 4 donors to 1630 that year. One person donated like $50 million in stock anonymously. I don't even know how that works. One person donated a smaller amount, like 40 million anonymously, and another amount. And then Omidyar donated 45 million, but he disclosed that the next day. And so I don't know. I think we do have a good sense that Omidyar himself is the sole funder of the Omidyar network. But to your point, we are taking them at their word.
Yes. And here's the thing. And if you want to look into this, if I'm wrong on this, I would be welcome to be wrong. These structures are so fucking irritating. But basically, Omidyar is able to get away with saying that he self-funds everything because he has an unpierceable trust that manages a fuck ton of money. That trust we have no insight into, but he takes money from that trust and then he uses that to fund projects. Now, we can say that, well, I mean, technically it is his money and we can see where it's coming from and all of that. So like that is transparency. You could say that maybe, but like, and I'm just giving a hypothetical, it's not necessarily true, but like, what if it was the case that trust had 100% of it, the stocks and assets that it held were all invested in AI, in like NVIDIA and whatever, right? I think that if you knew that, and then you saw him throwing money at certain things, you would look at that money a lot differently. It wouldn't just be like the personal contribution of Omidyar or whatever. You'd be like, this stands something to gain from pushing this stuff. I don't know if it's out of the goodness of his heart.
He does have a public shares in Anthropic. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
He might, but I'm saying that the trust that everything is funded out of, the Omidyar, I don't remember the exact name of it. I have notes on this. That trust is, you have no idea what's in that trust. Nobody does. You can't. It's not. There's no legal requirements for the reporting on it. And whenever you hear he's donating money, all of it is being pulled from that trust. Like when he says his Omidyar Foundation or whatever is all self-funded, what he means is the money is coming from his trust, but we don't know what's in that trust. You have no fucking idea what assets that trust holds. And that could heavily influence how he's doling out that money. And we might want to know that, But I'm not singling him out. I think there's a lot of issues with reporting in this area. I just don't like the selective focus. Yeah.
That's all that stuff is beyond my capacity. You know more about trust and economics than I do, but there's an interesting aspect to this too, which is like, if you notice in her reporting, she does kind of she's less harsh against 1630 than she is Chorus in the reporting. Like she goes out of her way to mention the fact that 1630 has donated to some really good causes, like reproductive rights and stuff like that. But she kind of pulls punches a little bit. You could make an argument that even though like she can, I think, somewhat credibly say that her structure with Omidyar is different from Chorus. I mean, it is functionally different. Even though that's the case, I feel like the readers deserve to know that her main benefactor, donated a very sizable amount of money to a subsidiary of 1630 in 2020. I mean, like, would that influence the way that she talks about 1630? Like, is she pulling punches maybe, intentionally because she knows that Omidyar has that relationship in the past? And even though he disclosed that money, it's like, well, it's fungible, right? Like he donated $45 million, which,
because knowing any of these structures, I'm sure if you read on this at all, or even like a little bit, it's like it's actual cancer AIDS. Like going through these 990 PFs and all these like fucking and figuring out like the structure of it. Like when somebody says like I think Omidyar Foundation is not a real thing, or like Omidyar Network isn't a real thing. It just refers to like a bunch of different companies, and it's like I don't even know like what is this a real thing, or is it just like a slang for like a trust and something else, or like this entity is actually like a C4 C3 hybrid, and if it's like it's so cancerous navigating all of these, not just on the Omidyar thing, but for any of these structures. Yeah, it's really 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 annoying. And I do agree with you that if you had more transparency here, you might view some of these things differently. So it is annoying to just see one thing get called out. Yeah.
Well, all of it is wildly complex, which is I think one of the things that like kind of shields her intentions a little bit. I think the fact that all of this, like you really have to kind of dig deep into her reporting to figure out all the moving parts, because it is kind of confusing. But I think she took advantage of that complexity to obfuscate what her reporting was really all about. And, that to me just, I don't know. I took it personally when she was, I felt like she wasn't doing enough to push back against, like Hasan specifically. I mean, like numerous times on his stream has basically accused the Chorus creators of manufacturing consent for genocide. He used her reporting to do that. And then a lot of other people, the Vanguard, and I think maybe Kalinsky did that. And like that whole space, like pounced on, like BTC, and Brian Tyler Cohen isn't even taking a fucking salary for this, Destiny.
Yeah.
Like he's not even getting fucking paid for this. Like he came on our podcast right after the election and was talking about this problem of like, we need to aggressively like be present in alternative media and on social media, and Democrats need to be better about that. And then what did he do? He fucking actually donated his fucking time, like without a salary, to like
just to get like character assassinated and everybody involved with it. Like, also her thing, or go ahead.
Well, and then Hasan, like on his stream, he was like, I don't know if you saw the clip, but he was like sharing with his chat on his stream his, manipulative plan to get in Brian's good graces. He was like telling his chat, he's like, no, I gotta fix that relationship. Like,
I'm sure you
guys gotta trust me.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking trust me. Okay. I know what I'm doing. And then of course, like I clipped that and sent it to Brian immediately. I was like, just so you know, this guy's being a fucking snake. If he tries to be your friend, just know that he accused you of like enabling a genocide before. Yeah.
The whole poisoning the well. I've gotten this talking point from white nationalists a lot. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Or she's like, Tim Pool wants to be known as a progressive. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, there's no fact of the matter. Like, the idea that you could self-ID politically right? So like the Nazis were actually socialists, or North Korea really does have like a people's democratic republic. Like what a stupid comment. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to go. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yep. Have fun. Be careful.
Bye-bye.
Because I've heard that you're a big fan of Hasan, and you said that you're critical of everybody, including left. So what is one criticism of Hasan that you have?
Oh, shit. Oh, she's going to say, doesn't talk enough about AI censorship or age ID things or whatever.
Just to dispel this notion that you're in the Hasan camp. Because I've heard this a lot. And I'm just it doesn't sound like it. So I want to give you a chance to say what you've been critical of Hasan for.
I think one thing that Hasan could do better, and I'm sympathetic to, I am on the left, and I actually think Hasan gets a lot of like bad faith attacks, so I'm mostly defending him. I think one thing he could do better is speak about issues on specific policies. I think he focuses a lot on foreign policy. I think he doesn't focus enough on tech policy, on other, policy areas that I think he could do a lot of good in. And I think that he focuses a lot more on sort of these bigger issues that maybe get a lot more attention, and that's his job as a content creator. But I think he kind of ignores a lot of.
That's gonna get clipped. Hasan's gonna not be your friend anymore. If you said that really awful, mean thing to him.
Well, everything I say, I will say to people's faces as well. And
wow, you would say that to his face, Hasan? I think you could report a little bit more on domestic issues, especially related to the beat that I particularly cover. Wow.
And to your point, by the way, about the dark money stuff, just because Clavicular isn't currently, as far as we can tell, funded by dark money, that doesn't mean that I don't hear your point that Democrats should use, that is a very legitimate argument to have, because Peter Thiel is funding a lot of people on the right.
I have another question too, is like, what does disclosure look like? For example, I did an event with Unfuck America recently, and I told my channel, they paid for my flight. I paid for my hotel, my parking, my food, everything. They paid for my flight. But like I feel like the goalpost keeps moving on disclosure. So what does disclosure look like that is satisfactory to you, in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, like I have strict, I'm going to be a lot more sort of disclosure friendly because I'm a journalist, so I have to be more disclosure.
Just to be clear, that's a lie. Every single time she says that, that's a fucking lie. There is you don't have to disclose anything. There's no rules for journalists to do. That's not true. That's just a fucking lie.
A political influencer, I'm sympathetic to these political influencers that are like, well, it's my job to be like pro-Democrat, I'm a liberal. Some of them do identify as centrist or leftist or whatever.
She identifies as leftist, by the way. She's done so multiple times. It's been like multiple times in chat. I don't know why she's saying that.
Whatever they want to identify as, right-wing influencers as well, right? Whatever you identify across the political spectrum, there's a bunch of people that they exist to promote a specific ideology, and they're proud of it. And so a lot of them feel like they shouldn't disclose. What I would say is you should still disclose your affiliations. Just say, like, I'm getting funded by XYZ Group. XYZ Group paid me X, especially if they're paying for specific content. Chorus was not paying for specific content. A lot of them don't pay for specific videos for that reason, because they don't have to disclose as much. Sort of the norms are not there around disclosure. But I would say just try to be as open as you can with your audience.
What a pointless. Imagine wasting so much of your long life. Imagine wasting so much of it writing about this, and you don't even have. This is like, she says she talks, her beat is tech policy. And your suggestion for how this should change is, well, I think that people should just be as transparent as they possibly can be. What?
And have some sort of,
Would that be satisfactory for me to just go on stream once and say, hey, by the way, they paid for my flight?
Well, I think one thing that I've suggested to content creators is have an ethics, have FAQ. Like a lot of these influencers have FAQs about themselves on their websites or their Linktree or whatever. And it'll just say groups I'm working with, or hey, I take political money. Here's the organizations that have funded me. Or, hey, if you don't have to beat people over the head with it. If you go on a trip and you're making a video from that trip and they paid for your flight, yeah, I think it's completely fine to say hey, they paid for my flight. I don't think you have to say it over and over and over again, although that's great if you want to.
This isn't even a good suggestion. I have stronger positions on disclosure requirements than she does. Why the fuck would I care if some fucking slop streamer disclosed one time on a 90-hour trip that he got paid to go there? That disclosure needs to be way more visible. What a pointless fucking suggestion. How stupid. Jesus.
But I just think I hear you, and I'm not saying that nobody on the left should be using dark money groups. The 1630 Fund does amazing work in a lot of areas. They funded a lot of reproductive justice, health stuff. They do stuff that I ideologically support. So I generally am not going to criticize specific programs that they do unless they're doing that in a sort of a sneaky way. But I think that the system is never going to work out for the left. It's great to use it. I get your point and I take your point. But overwhelmingly, if we want to dismantle money and more transparency is always going to benefit.
I bring it up because the big guys the big boys like Hasan make a lot of money. They don't need to take any funding. They don't need any help. And smaller creators, it's how it is. It's tough. And to do this even part-time can be expensive, and it's rare to make money. And so I just think it's in my opinion, it seemed like you were being a little harsh on people who are just trying to get a little help. They're not trying to hide anything. They're just looking for help, and it was offered to them.
And like I said, I have friends.
I think it discourages people from taking that help.
And I don't want to discourage that. I don't. What I want is really for the people.
She does. That's why she was calling out names as a fucking hit list in articles. That's exactly why she does that.
run these programs to be honest about it, because I do think like, listen, this stuff eventually comes out, or like there's inconsistencies. Chorus was paying some creators thousands of dollars, and then people with bigger audiences were getting significantly less money.
Yeah, that's not called an inconsistency. Those are just different terms in different contracts. It's just so crazy how comfortable people are with fucking lying about everything. They're just fucking lying and being just like, I hate it. It's such a waste of time.
And that wasn't always clearly disclosed either. So I just think like that's going to lead to animosity.
Not clearly disclosed that different creators had different terms in their contracts. What a pointless waste of oxygen. I feel like my ears were assaulted just listening. Fuck me, dude.
If I didn't break the story, these people were going to go somewhere else, right? It was going to be public. So I think in the interest of transparency, in the interest of just like not also giving giving critics fuel, why not just be open about it, you know? And say like, I think like, you know what's so crazy to me too, by the way? They knew about this story for a month. Brian Tyler Cohen knew about this story. And so did 1630 Fund. They could have, I've said this so many times before, they could have called up the Washington Post and said, we have an exciting new program to announce where we're funding creators. And we're going to be giving $8,000 a month, and it's really exciting. And we're going to give you, whatever journalist writes about it, access to some of the content creators. And we're going to make it this exciting announcement. Not only would that have taken the wind out of like my story completely, I wouldn't have been able to run my story, but also would have framed it in such a positive light. Why
you mean the Bezos Washington Post? I don't think that libs have a great deal of affinity right now for a lot of these mainstream outlets.
Ken Bensinger wrote the original story on Chorus. Ken would have absolutely written a follow-up if Brian Tyler Cohen wanted to announce a program like this with a bunch of big influencer names. There's so many media outlets that would have. Or they could just announce it online. They don't even need to go through media. But I'm just saying, like, instead, they intentionally chose to try to attack the journalist, remain secretive. It's so unproductive.
But what I will say is that various reasons, or they were just, learning experience.
I think it's funny because they're being paid to like shape narratives, and I think this whole experience shows that they're not very good at it. And the reason I point to Courier and some of these other ones that overtly pay progressive, liberal, whatever you want to call it, Democrat creators, like because they do it in the open and there's no controversy around that. Like there's no even somebody like Kat Tenbart, she's an amazing journalist in her own right, but she's been doing stuff for Courier. There's no controversy. There's no controversy about Ryan Broderick doing stuff for Courier. Like these people just do the content and it's out there and it's open and people generally support it. Fans want to see the content creators that they like supported.
Well, the frustration, I think, and why I think there's more controversy here, and I'll tell you why I was frustrated, is because of the reaction, which I think we all now agree was unfair. The ones that relating that there's specific sort of ideological restrictions on what is being said, and some of the notions that it specifically relates to Israel-Palestine. I think that that the article, there is something newsworthy to the actual article, which is the non-disclosure aspect. I think this all should have been resolved by just disclosing what's going on, but understanding that we're all in a fucking emergency right now. We're all trying to fight a fascist government, and we absolutely need to fund creators and programs like this. And so I was very frustrated.
We should also know, like, with Israel stuff, for instance, like, know the qualifications. Like, they never put out public call-outs for to join Chorus. And I think that's such a mistake. Like, a lot of these other creator programs, especially on the left, I don't know about Unfuck America, but certainly there's a lot of other, like, smaller versions of this, and they'll put out a public call-out, like, hey, we're looking for creators. We want people under the age of 40, or people that appeal to women. We're looking for beauty and lifestyle creators that lean progressive, whatever. They'll put out call-outs for creators. And they say, this is what we're evaluating people on. These are the views. We don't care about this. We care about this. Or you're not held to specific, like, content, but there's just no transparency in this program. And with that lack of transparency, you get speculation. And that's why I say to anybody that says, well, most of them are not pro-Israel, most of them are not whatever. Okay, then release the roster so we can accurately, identify, release the qualifications that you're using to judge who gets into the program. Other people put this stuff up online.
But Taylor, if you make that claim, I feel like it's on you to substantiate it. Yeah. When you make a claim that 90% are primarily pro-Israel, I think it's on
the ones
you.
That we identified. Sure, the ones that we identified.
But as we discovered tonight, your sort of like basis for categorizing people in these ways is, I would say, dubious.
Well, that's your opinion, but I guess we're going to just disagree on that. But that was my characterization of my commentary on my article, which is just commentary on an article. So I'm sorry that we're going to disagree on that specific point of commentary on the article, but you can read the article and everything stands very clearly in the story.
Let's end on that note, Taylor, that we do agree to disagree.
Also, read my other reporting.
Yes,
the article
Taylor,
that I published on Friday.
Other than that, I linked your article in the description about this, the Palantir, and this. I read it. I think this is frankly kind of scary that you can just label anything an ad, and this is paid propaganda. You don't have to say where it's coming from or what the agenda is. So everyone, please go check out Taylor's new article. But anything else, Taylor, that you're shouting out? Any appearances? Any books? I mean, you've written a book, but yeah.
Well, I think people already knows what I'm going to say, which is we have to kill these identity verification laws and mass surveillance. We didn't talk about it. It's so frustrating that on a Live and Learn podcast that we are witnessing the decimation of our rights, of our civil liberties under a fascist people. Much reporting who dedicates my life to covering this stuff into podcasts. I'm talking about this podcast. I want every single person from the internet, and it's devastating. It's horrible.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Taylor. I'm going to let you go. We're going to do our little wrap up here. But last question: do you now acknowledge that Hutch is not Dan Saltman?
Okay, I do need to be able to tell the difference between the two, and I'm really sorry. But you guys say a lot of the same things.
Oh gosh. All right. Thank you, Taylor.
But I will.
Oh my God. Dude, the webbing, trying to get everybody as like part of the enemy team. Oh my God.
Sure. And now that I've seen you, I will remember it in my memory.
Let me just say, I do appreciate, I respect the fact that you came in here and you agreed to that exchange, and I do respect that. I want to reiterate that I appreciate the fact that you are calling attention to like the issue of money and politics and disclosure. I think it does matter, and I think we need journalists that are covering these things. And so I'll try to be as graceful as I can at the end of this. But I respect you coming on. And
it's fine. We can agree to disagree. But thank you for shouting out. Everybody go to stoponlineidchecks.org, and I'll see you guys there.
Bye, Taylor.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
All right. Well, that was an episode of Live and Learn. How do we all feel about that?
In the books. I mean, I think the centrist point is fucking stupid. That's just my view. I have issues with the contractual language of the through thing, but I didn't feel like those were aired. I just think like calling it centrist or not, it's like
it was just indicative of the slant, right? It was what Hutch was trying to point this as like a narrative.
And the title is the best.
Yeah, sure.
Focus on the title. Yeah, the title and then the tweet which you did, which was good.
If you were to steal, man, like what larger point do you think I was making?
No, I understand the point about like bias and stuff, but the factual accuracy point, that's what I thought was bizarre.
It wasn't about bias.
Well, sure it was.
No, it's not about bias. It's about she claimed that her article was about disclosure, and I think her article was about something more meta than that. I think she was painting a narrative, or writing a narrative about the big bad establishment, the corrupt establishment centrist pro-Israel shills, and the virtuous like, leftists that were suppressed and frozen out of this
And Chorus was just a vector for that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's circumstantial evidence to get to her state of mind in this nefarious intent, and that is exhibited by her.
The only possible way you can ascertain state of mind is circumstantial evidence, unless the person tells you what they're thinking. I'm sorry, how else can you witness a state of mind? What is the direct evidence for somebody's state of mind? Can somebody tell me? What direct evidence do we have? Do we have an empath in the audience?
Using that terminology. But what I have an issue with is like disputing the factual accuracy of it. I mean, that's just like fucking stupid in my mind. I don't think that it's useful.
Do you disagree that that's what she was doing with that article?
I don't disagree that.
Like, the factual accuracy is not. I don't. It's like such a. I don't. I don't even know how to. It's like so painful, dude. Like, imagine what is the name for this? Me and 3 friends all were trying to agree on the best rapper in the world. I thought that Eminem was. Mr. Mooten thought that Eminem was. Dan thought that Eminem was. And then Jerome, who's black, disagreed with us. There's no world where a rational human being would look at that sentence and go, well, hold on, wait. Well, factually, is he black? That's like, the factual accuracy is almost irrelevant. Not really, right? It is relevant, especially if it's not true. That's even crazier. But like, that's so not the point. And this obsession over, is it factually accurate? Like, is such a toddler way of engaging with language. I don't even know how to like. I don't even know how to engage with such a nonsense statement.
That's what you. I mean, that's just like fucking stupid in my mind. I don't think that it's useful.
Do you disagree that that's what she was doing with that article?
I don't disagree that that's what she was doing with the article, in fact. And I don't disagree that the title says it all, and that's the framing, yeah.
You understand that centrist is pejorative, and she was using it as a pejorative.
But you were disputing the factual accuracy of that claim. You understand the difference?
Well, because it doesn't matter, though. But also, she was factually incorrect, which makes it even worse, which makes it even more sus, right?
I understand the point about the framing. I agree with you on the framing. No, but she said the factual accuracy point, I think, is stupid.
She said she didn't insert her opinion. She clearly did a number of times throughout that article. And that was one of those times.
Absolutely.
Even that label was an intentional choice based on her opinion.
Are you hearing me, Hutch? I'm not saying that she didn't have opinion and the framing was absolutely biased in ways that you've called out. What I'm saying is disputing the factual accuracy of it. That's what I think is fucking dumb. Like,
well, but it was inaccurate, though. I don't think they ever got to that. I don't think I read anything in the past about her. But he did. It's fine to dispute the factual accuracy if somebody's wrong about the factual accuracy of the article.
Biden calls himself a centrist. You know, he says I'm a centrist Democrat.
She calls herself a progressive, dude. Okay, she progressive. She was an executive like director out of.
What is the what are the circumstances in where Biden is calling himself a centrist Democrat? Because like it matters when that's coming up. Is it like in response to him being called like a socialist or something, or like what is that in response to? Also, centrist Democrat means this, especially and coming from Biden. I feel like that means something a lot different than coming from Taylor Lorenz, right? Like, the words will mean different things in different contexts, and they kind of mean different things depending on who they're coming from, right? So, I like saying that he calls himself a centrist. So that means that you can call yourself, or you can call him a centrist among your friends when you're using it to bash him. It's just not the same thing. I don't know why I'm explaining this. It's like, this is just like immediately obvious to anybody that can speak a language, assuming you have the faculty in your brain, which you do as a human being. It's granted to you a priori to understand language. I don't even know why I'm explaining this. It's
progressive like think tank, you know, like you
were trying to dispute whether or not she was in fact centrist.
You sound like Tucker
That was wild. The white nationalist.
Didn't say anything in Hutch's defense piece. So what was that about?
But
no,
Hutch
was your boy.
She understood the point that I was making. She avoided it like the plague, so much so that she was willing to call AOC and Bernie a centrist. I'm giving you a fucking break. Like, that was ridiculous.
She's the thing is, I think it's more effective to underscore what she is in fact saying. If you underscore the fact that all you mean by centrist is Democrat aligned, well then trivially, right, that would make anybody who's aligned with Boris a centrist.
That's because then that would make AOC and Bernie a centrist. It's
okay,
but they got there, didn't they?
I think that's more effective than trying to like suss out whether the in fact accuracy of centrism from some objective stance independent way. I think that is just like an exercise in futility. And
we can't ascertain where on the political spectrum somebody's beliefs would lie. It's impossible. If you ask me to understand if Crockett or Bernie Sanders is more on the left, is further left, or, you know, closer to the center of the average American political belief right now would be Ossoff or Hasan Piker. It's impossible. That's a trivially, or that's a infinitely difficult conversation to have. There's just no way to figure that out. Like,
it makes it, I think it makes a critique not land as much. If you focus on the title, I think in the tweet or whatever, and also like just the structure of it, you know, it wasn't my favorite. I felt bad for IRI, you know, but yeah, no, I have issues with the piece, and I did at the time, and still do, frankly. And I don't think there is a satisfying answer on the methodology point that we both raised on the Israel stuff. Like, how are you deciphering whether or not these creators are pro-Israel or not? And it's their lack of comment on genocide, and it's a subset of a subset, and that should have been obvious. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. But I think the focus on like the weak criticisms, and I think what weak criticism is the factual accuracy of the centrist point. The weak criticism, I think, is also whether the contract forbade the disclosure or not. When there isn't any evidence the contract does not forbid the disclosure, and they have lawyers who are looking at it, and so I trust that it probably does. That's what.
Why would you trust that? Why would you trust that without any? That's a very bombastic claim. That's a big claim.
Trace me, and that's why, you know.
Well, I mean, like, so again, it says like according to the contract, and then it starts with like they're forbidden from disclosing their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. But if she was already aware that influencers had previously, you know, discussed their relationship with Chorus, and
she needs to account for that fact. Yes.
So
that means they're in breach, Hutch. That means they're in breach.
You don't. That's really. But like, listen to how stupid what Piska saying is. So that's our assumption. The assumption is that all these people are in breach, and Taylor, even if they were in breach, why doesn't Taylor mention that? Were they punished for it? Were they reprimanded for it? That's a interesting thing to talk about. Were they in breach? Why would you assume that? Is it more likely that all of these content creators were in breach of their contract and Taylor couldn't find any evidence of them being reprimanded? Or is it more likely that she just got it fucking wrong because she's lying about it?
That influencers had previously, you know, discussed their relationship with Chorus, and so
that means they're in breach, Hutch. That means they're in breach.
Or it's not being. Wait, hold on.
That's your
difference between. There's a difference between.
He was about to say something retarded, I think, and he realized it was retarded. He was about to say that's your burden to prove. How it's her article.
The letter of a contract and whether or not it's actually being enforced.
I understand that, yes.
And it's a journalist's job to suss that out and to confirm that the letter of the contract is being enforced. And she didn't do that, and she could have.
One thing is saying that she's not raising.
We could go so far on this. The point is that you agree with us that there is an ideological slant to that she is
100%. That was what. Do you guys forget me debating this? Do you forget me debating this issue and me having the stance I do? But the thing is, I think the structure of it is of the interrogation aspect of it. I didn't like it. And I thought some of the points that we were dwelling on were stupid. And I did feel the need to speak up when I felt that there were parts of the article that were just factually accurate and that were just like literally true. And that is a thing that drives me crazy. And I'm always going to speak up on that when I hear that. One last thing I'll say is
there's nothing more sickening than looking at Twitter coming across Jew stalkers sweeping. Actually, I agree with his tweet. Absolutely shameful display from the Lib and Learn podcast tonight. Spending more than an hour discussing the Chorus article without bringing up a single germane issue is disgraceful. If you can't manage the direction of the show without Josiah there, then pack it up. The amount of like insane simping that he does for Hasan, it's got to kill him, dude. It has to eat him up inside. The insane simping that I've seen this guy do for Hasan and all the far lefty people now that he's trying to ingratiate himself with is just wild.
Yeah, in general, I think we all agree on somewhat of the disclosure aspect. We all criticize these rightoids when they all like congregate and don't disclose all the shit that's going on. I think that point should be taken in good stride, and we should encourage people like Brian and David, who I respect, who I like, to do shit like this. And I think Chorus is based, and I think that they should be funding dark money groups to support Democrats all over the place.
Well, I'm still shocked at her scathing criticism of Hasan there. I don't think I've ever heard someone get taken down so hard.
I can't believe she said something so awful about him.
He's going to be pissed. Holy shit. And I think that said a lot in her answer there. But she got awfully defensive. I don't know. What's the story there? I did not follow the Chorus thing as closely as you guys, obviously. That's why I stayed out of it. I didn't dare try to change the subject or interject. And you guys seem like you're doing something and you're focused on it, which is fine. But boy, she was super defensive. And I don't know about you, but I'm proud to like talk about whatever I do. You know, I'm not.
Yep. Correct.
She seemed like genuinely pissed.
Yes. Which is so weird too, because like in my opinion, I feel like journalists love to talk about their shit. It's like PhD or master's thesis is like, if you want to ask somebody about it, like people, the chance to talk about and share some piece they've, worked on. I feel like generally journalists are pretty excited to have the opportunity to do that because most people aren't. So yeah, I don't know. It's.
Oh, so I purchased that hat for you?
You gave it to me
with money that I use.
What do you mean with money?
Well, where do you think I got it? You think I manifest these hats? They just grow out of my head? No, I paid for that. You got a bribe from me.
Thank you for the sweaty hat off your head.
I wasn't sweating that day. I made sure I got a clean one. All right, guys, what's going on this week? What are we boozing, Hutch? What are you doing?
Just regular stream. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I didn't, I gave you guys a heads up that I did do like literally like fucking 12 hours of prep, and there were so many other things, but we kept getting stuck because I felt like she was being evasive, and I didn't want to like let a lot of that stuff go. But I appreciate you guys giving me that time.
Someone in my chat said I just called her a hysterical woman.
What? Yeah. Do you think she was bossy, Ira?
No, I thought she was incredibly defensive. That's what I thought, which has nothing to do with her gender. So weird.
All right, Guy, what do you got going on this week?
Well, I got interviewed by Rolling Stone this morning.
Nice.
Pretty cool. They claim that article is coming out, so we'll see what comes of that. But that's it.
Do you talk about the politics at all, or is it all just your?
I did actually. They asked me like it was about me and my connection with the band, and so we talked about what I do. So this might be the first connection to my live streaming and my politics with the role and all that.
What you're saying is Live and Learn got interviewed by Rolling Stone to like kind of right, like we're all famous to an extent, is what you're saying.
They might be watching tonight. She said she would check out my stream. So,
Pisco, what's up?
I'm interviewing a candidate for a Democratic race. I'm not gonna announce it just now on Thursday in the morning, which will be fun. It's against an incumbent Democrat, and I'm giving her the space to talk about her case for.
Against an incumbent Democrat, so it's a socialist, tanky, far lefty, pro-Gaza genocide person and fighting an establishment centrist yeah, whatever.
She should win the nomination there. Additionally, also working to do the TikTok debates, get those back up and running. Right now, we're doing morning streams this week, and so tune in if you'd like to do that.
And are you collabing with Guy? I saw him triple team people at UFA, so like he's definitely open to having a person next to him.
Listen, I think IRI is like a really good person to have as like a wingman in those debates, or even taking the lead at times. I think he's very like level-headed, and he's really, I think, rhetorically effective in all those contexts. And so I'm always very proud to see IRI like wherever he goes, just stunting and sounding like very reasonable, whatever he gets. Even I think in this interaction with Taylor, I appreciated the way you came at it, which was open-ended. Like, how would you disclose? What standard would you set? And I think that keeping it open like that is very a contrast to me, which is like usually more restrictive. And so I'd like to see it. And so kudos to IRI.
I appreciate it. Also, I'm in a CNN thumbnail, which is cool. America stuff. Yeah,
that's nice.
Thank you, though, Pisco. I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
I hope you do your TikTok thing because you bring perspective. Everybody's got their own flavor, so the more the merrier, bro.
Pisco, is it true that the picture that IRI and I took that I sent to you, you described us as your Jews?
I certainly did not. No, but I did see someone. I've seen a nickname for you.
All right, I'm going to sleep. I love you guys. Have fun. Be careful. Cappuccino. I will catch you guys next stream Marino. Be careful. Good night.